Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 521, post PDGA Pro Worlds edition.
It's a lot. It's a mouthful.
I didn't even get the Zuka in there or PDGA
The box. Did you sell me a box? Can you sell me a box, Terry? Because there's not enough of you. Or better yet, sell me a 10-year pass for next year.
No, you got them up. You see, you already got them mixed up. It's a pass for next year or a 10-year box.
No, I know. No, I knew that. It's a box, or I'm calling it the 10-year pass. I know you don't get a pass for 10 years, but It's a pass for 1 year, but it's the 10-year anniversary.
Yes, well,
because you sold the crap out of them this weekend.
Unfortunately, I don't make a commission on those. Some of those proceeds may go to help paying me ultimately.
Do you need a better negotiator with your contract?
I do not personally get a commission on any of those boxes. So I do hope you bought them, and I do hope we can keep the lights on. But
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna buy any.
I bought one. I was not BSing.
I know.
I said finally, yes, I would in fact buy one of the 10-year boxes. Only 500 available. I own now 2 of them. In fact, while I was driving here tonight, I got an update saying that they have shipped. So I will have them. Nope, no commissions are made on us even talking about it. Thanks for making me relive this nightmare. Here we are. I hope you guys aren't sick of it, but I hope if you just buy all the damn boxes, then we don't have to sell them anymore. We don't have to talk about it.
That's true. If people sell out of them on day one, you don't have to talk about it anymore. I did get some raffle tickets into the Paul Macbeth.
You did? How'd that go? I didn't see your name. They sent out an email because I did buy raffle tickets as well. They sent out an email, which you probably got and didn't realize it, listing all of the winners and what they won.
That doesn't sound good then.
Your name wasn't in there now that I think about it.
The only thing I wanted was hole 14's basket.
Oh, jeez. Don't you dare.
I told someone if I win 14's basket, I will build a goddamn mound in my backyard and put it at the very top. I will put every rock in my yard in that green.
Don't get them started. We'll talk.
We'll get there later. I think we have a guest. We have a guest right away?
Yeah, let's kick it off. Of course, it's World Champ night. And it doesn't get any better than when you have world champs joining the show immediately following. It feels, they say you got to go to Disney World after you win like the World Series or the Super Bowl or whatever. Well, we'd like to think you join us on Smashbox. So with that, let's bring in our first guest. Welcome to Smashbox TV, kind of. Okay, our world champ, Evelina Solon. Why can't you be on our show? Why can't you be on the podcast?
Yeah.
Tell them why you're not going to be there.
Yeah, I'm flying back to home to party.
If there is ever an excuse to not be on Smashbox after winning the world title, it's to party. I couldn't get more behind that. All right, so give us a Smashy exclusive. What will a celebration, honestly, what will that look like and feel like at home?
It's a secret, can't tell.
You can't even tell us?
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Does that mean going out with the guys and the girls? Does that mean food? Does that mean drinks? Does that mean a boat you're going to rent? Like, what will you do?
Yeah, I think we are going out with my friends, and I think my little sister is coming too.
Out with friends and a little sister. All right, so that's why she's not on Smashbox TV, but we wish her the best. Is there anything you could say to all of our fans? Because they're going to be a little sad that they don't get to hear from you, but anything you want to say to all the Smashbox fans out there?
Yeah, sorry about this, but thank you all for the support.
All right, Evelina Solon, world champion here in Virginia. It was an incredible week. Congrats.
Thank you.
She's going to go party. We'll get back to Smashbox, but she's going to go party as rightfully so. We'll see you guys at the next one. All right. We officially give her the pass and the fact that it is about 3 a.m. in Finland.
And this was a last-minute decision for her. If she hadn't won the World Championships, she wasn't going to buy a ticket and fly home. She was going to play D-Glow. Now, it really looks like she's going to maybe miss D-Glow. She's got a week, so she could come back. Personally, I'm going to give her 50-50 on D-Glow.
Exactly. When I then followed up after that, I said, yeah, D-Glow, right? Like, you'll go home, you got a week and a half. She kind of grimaced. So rightfully so, she's going to go home and celebrate. They were just about to buy the tickets. I mean, this is an hour or a couple hours after she had won. They were already looking at them.
Is it going to be her and Henna?
It looked like her and Henna, and buying the tickets to go back. It brings me so much joy. Congratulations to her, but it brings me so much joy to think about going home and seeing that, to have that reason to completely alter your, a portion of your season. And I did see a picture from her on Instagram or on Facebook or something today. A whole crowd of people, a slew of people
at the airport.
At the airport.
Oh, I was so going to ask if that happened. So I'm glad.
So absolutely fitting and perfect, and glad she was doing it. So I also thank her for giving us a little insight there and confirming. I know some of you heard that during the, one of the post round interviews, but in case you missed it, that's why she's not here, and rightfully so. So congrats.
We will have Isaac Robinson live.
Yes. Isaac, on the other hand, didn't give me a pre-recorded message. So Isaac's going to be joining us here shortly. I think he is maybe wrapping up on another show right now as well. Understandably, making some rounds, as you would expect. And so I think Isaac, I haven't messaged with him in a few minutes, but I'm guessing it'll be any minute now that we'll likely have him joining us. So
should we talk a little bit about FPL
yeah,
first?
Until Isaac jumps on, let's jump into some FPO action. If we have to come back, we will.
That sounds reasonable. So as we know, Evelina Salonen wins this by 2 strokes. She was able to lay up that last putt, that last 15-footer, so to speak. It was a crazy final round. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We saw so many lead changes between Holland and Evelina, and then suddenly Holland just got to the back nine, and there's no other way to put it but melted down. She, from hole 12, she went bogey, bogey, triple, double, bogey, bogey, and then she got a birdie on 18 of all things. It was unfortunate to see, but that's the pressure of the World Championships in a nutshell. But another person who, after Holland kind of started to melt down, Kat Merch was on the accelerator. Kat Merch, who takes second place, at one point was in the lead. I believe she had a 1-stroke lead at one point, and was just playing out of her mind. Like, I just kept waiting for her to miss these long putts, and she kept dropping them in. It was amazing. I'm not going to lie. It was fun watching Kat Merch play. But her as well got to that back nine, and unfortunately, at hole 12, she went birdie, par, par. I'm sorry, bogey, par, par, bogey, bogey, bogey. And at that point, after hole 16's bogey and Evelina able to par that, it was kind of a done deal at that point. 17, there was a little bit of drama to see what would happen, but Evelina did a successful layup. Kat Merch had to go for it. There was no question. Like there wasn't a like, oh, maybe I'll live to fight another day kind of moment. It was then or never. She had to birdie there. She had to birdie the final hole in order to kind of keep up with what Evelina potentially had to do. So Kat Merch takes second place. Kristen Tatar shoots an okay final round, but because of Holland, basically, Holland dropping down, Kristen Tatar was able to climb back up with a good 4th round and an okay final round. She shot 13 under par. She shot a 2 down that round. She was 5 strokes out of the lead and takes 3rd place. So still gets that podium finish.
Which immediately one of the takeaways is not only did she have a less than stellar week by all accounts, but the fact that she finishes in 3rd. And when you look back and think about I'll use that. I'll emphasize the word just 5 strokes. When it was all said and done, pressures were different. She was on chase card for a number of those rounds. Lots of different things to consider. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, all of those things. But to see the week that she had and to then at the very end put together, again, a decent round in the last couple of rounds, to find herself still in 3rd is kind of crazy in itself. Like, that's obviously a side story to the overall picture of the division, but there was so much conversation about when was she going to get it going? Does she still have a chance? Can she get it going? Is it there? And especially even after the start on the final day, you thought, is this it? Everybody's been talking about it. Could she finally
She went
put
3 for
together?
3.
She goes 3 for 3. And you're thinking, man, all right, it could actually get interesting.
It was in reach, honestly, because she could get holes 4. Hole 5 is a tough get for the FPO, but she could have easily gotten 4. And then you clean up the 2 bogeys she took. I mean, 12 is a difficult hole as well. There's not a lot of birdies there. But it was within reach. Had she shot I'll say she would have to shoot the best round of her weekend, of her week, but it wasn't out of touch. It wasn't. She would have had to have shot a 7 under. I think we saw 6 under earlier in the week. I don't think we saw an 8 under earlier in that week, but I mean, it was there for her. It was within reach. She really dug herself too deep of a hole in rounds 1 and 2. That's all you could say. Like shooting 1 over par and then I think like 1 under par after round 1 and 2, something along those lines. She was just so far behind that she would have had to have had I don't want to say epic, but a very good final half of that tournament in order to come back, and just it wasn't in the books for her. It's a tough course I feel like to kind of make a comeback on, because from where she was, just because she had a couple people in front of her that probably weren't going to all completely melt down. Had she been closer to 1 or 2 strokes closer and 1 or 2 less people between her, anything could happen. Natalie Ryan takes 5th place, shooting 1 over par. She as well kind of had a really bad back 9 on that on that card. Starting at hole 12, she went double, then birdie, and then double, par, bogey, birdie. Just unfortunately, those 2 double bogeys took her out of any sort of contention that she had at getting of winning a world championship. Missy Ganon, 6th place. Haley King.
Yeah, real quick, Missy Ganon, one of the maybe literally the only bogey-free round in the FPO division. If I had to guess, I'm seeing it right there. She had 3 birdies in the first 7 holes. Never had a bogey at any point. I'm guessing. I mean, look at, just as one example, and I know, and I'm not picking on her, but you look at Holland during 12 through 17, where she goes, like 9 over in that stretch. Missy took all pars, every single hole a par, and clearly Missy was making up strokes. She shot a 3 under, which is on the upper side of a good round. And she ultimately finished in the spot she started, which was 6th for the day. But it proved to me, I guess my point is, it proves that a clean round could be shot out there, and it's possible. It probably took some, a little bit of fortune, probably a par save or 2 when there was an OB shot, but it is possible to card that out there. In fact, she had 3 OBs.
And a hazard.
Holy cow. So 3 OBs and a hazard, and she still went bogey free.
Is not shocking on this course, with
depending on where you do it.
As close as some of these things are. In fact, there were 1 or 2 holes that I felt like the players were shooting for circle 3. Like, if I get a circle 3, that's life. That's
sure.
Anything other than that is bonus.
Yeah.
7th place, as we said, Haley King. Haley, who had earlier in the week, she was kind of making a run as well. Unfortunately, just kind of did what Haley King tends to do, and has a really great round, and then kind of like an average round, and an average round, and every once in a while she'll pop up and have a really great round. She just hasn't been able to put it together for an entire event in a while to really get to the top of that leaderboard. But no, again, 7th place, no slouch at Worlds. 8th place, Heidi Laine, shooting 2 under. 9th place, tie between Paige Pierce and Henna Blomroos. Those are that's your top 10 for FPO World Championships. I guess we'll talk real quick about Evelina. She was the winner. What do you make of it that on these courses, particularly, she can shoot like 63% C1X and still win the World Championships? Because I've seen a lot of places, or a lot of people lately say like, oh my gosh, it's embarrassing that someone can blah, 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 shoot or putt so poorly, but still win our World Championship. I don't necessarily see it like that, but what's your takeaway?
Well, it's never been a secret that her driving off the tee is what has either kept her in events or led her to the top of events or whatever the case might be, however you want to word that. When it was all said and done, what was her, if you scroll over, what was her strokes gained in terms of...
Oh, this is the finals. Let me go to all.
If you go to all,
it was like 40 strokes.
Which is, if that's true, is absolutely insane that she would have tee to green.
Yeah, 41.
41.44 in strokes gained. Like that's how those numbers check out.
Yeah.
That you can struggle as much as that on the green, but when you're gaining 41.44 strokes from tee to green, the next closest was 18. 18. That's 23 strokes more gained more in tee to green than the next closest competitor in Cat Merch. That's absolutely insane.
Well, I don't know. That's not sorted by that. Hold on. Let me sort it by this.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes. So the second place was 28 strokes by
Okay,
Hailey Laine, and then Henna 27.
So look at right there, your top three, arguably three of your longer drivers, all coincidentally from Finland, Evelina, Hailey Laine, and Henna, all leading your top three when it comes to driving and strokes gained tee to green. If you want to wrap up the World Championships in a nutshell on the FPO side, there's the stat that you look at. And I guess you could flip that in a lesser light and look at the 63% C1X putting. Go to C1X putting and then do a sort by.
She's way down. Like Holly Finley was at 95%.
Who was just insane on the putting green. So what was Holly Finley doing wrong all weekend?
Well,
that she's 95%. She was, and I saw it. She was perfect through like 2 days. She's 95% C1X putting.
The problem is
clearly it didn't matter.
Yeah, the problem is her C1 in regulation is only 20%. She's only getting to the basket. She's not getting to the basket enough in order to make those putts. When she's in the circle, she's shooting really well, just not getting there enough. And that's not shocking with the way this course is set up. This course favored a longer FPO thrower. It's just what it is. It favored a long thrower and an accurate thrower. Because Kat Merch isn't necessarily your longest throwing FPO player. I wouldn't even put her in the top 10. She can throw okay, but we have so many good FPO throwers these days. But Kat Merch kept it, for the most part, in bounds. And Cat Merch was hitting some outrageous C2 putts all weekend. Just the basket must have looked ginormous to her. But ultimately, this course, you just had to keep it in bounds. You had to keep it in bounds. You had to be able to throw and just not go out of bounds. I don't know how much more I can say that. Like, I'm going to pull up the OB. Evelina had 15 OB strokes. I want to look at somebody. It's hard because some of these players did not make a cut. Like Sarah Gilpin only had 2 OB strokes, but she didn't make a cut. So Evelina was 5th place in OB strokes. Morgan Linz, I don't believe, made the cut. Kona, I don't believe. Kona had to pull out of the event. Jenny Karppinen, I don't think she made the cut either. So of the people that made the cut, Evelina Salonen had the lowest OB stroke. Her, and then Luque, Alexis Mondano, Missy Ganon at 16, Hailey Laine at 16. So Evelina kept it in the lines, and that's what rewarded her, and that's why she could get away with that C1X percentage and still win. Like this, the course itself is difficult there, and there's a lot of OB. We said it last Tuesday. We talked about whether or not this would be a kind of a kryptonite for someone like Paige Pierce.
Sure.
So that's just something we need to look at.
Well, it's clearly it allows us to look at the various stats and who's doing what in each category. When somebody tells you, well, Owen wins by 5, and then you look at her 90+% C1X, you're like, okay, well, that's obvious. And then she's, deficient potentially in another category. she arrived at it in a different way than what we're used to seeing. And what that says either about her or the whole division, I'm not sure. If anything,
every course challenges different things, and this one challenged accuracy. And Evelina has it in spades.
Yeah,
she deserved a win.
Yeah. I don't know how you can argue argue with the results, so to speak.
Yeah,
because if she's not driving nearly that well and she has to rely on the putter, obviously a different, all things remain the same, then there is a different outcome. But she was driving incredibly well, which is her forte, and that led her to, even with some relatively short misses, allowed her to still be competitive and come out on top. So,
do you know who else is extremely accurate off the tee?
I know a guy. He's incredibly accurate, and he's more accurate than me because I just got done sending all of the information to the wrong person on Instagram, and this guy says, "What are you doing? I'm 2-time world champ. Get me on the show." Isaac Robinson joining us. How you doing, man? Can you hear us, Isaac? Uh-oh.
Oh, he might be. We're going to fade that out. All right. He was there, and then he wasn't.
All right. We're going to see if we get him back. We saw him moving around in the green room. We'll see if he can jump back on because we're ready for him.
Yeah. Hopefully it should just be a little refresh on his side on the browser.
But, yeah, I'm going through, and he's asking for the login and the password and everything. I'm like, I sent this to you. No, I didn't. I sent it to Joey Buckets again from a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's clever, Terry.
With that, now we can reintroduce 2-time world champ Isaac Robinson. Can you hear us?
You got us? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, but I'm guessing you can't hear us. Is that possible? Yes, we hear you. We hear you. I don't want to message him because it might screw it up, but we hear you.
Yep.
Just make sure you're.
Yep.
And
hold on a second. We're gonna get him back. Isaac, can you hear us? All right. Welcome back to the show. You're now 2-time world champ and 3-time guest tonight, Isaac Robinson.
By the time we get you on the damn show, you're going to be a 3-time world champ at this rate.
Oh, man.
Thank you. That's all us. I told everybody I sent the wrong information. I sent it to Joey Buckets instead of to you. And
no, what was
Joey's like, what is this? I'm like, sorry, we don't need you right now.
At least the message wasn't, hey, great job this weekend at world champ. Sorry,
Ouch.
Joey.
Too soon.
Ooh.
Nonetheless, thank you so much. Congrats again. So tell us about the Whirlwind. You're now 2 times in doing this, but tell us about the Whirlwind from Sunday night to right now, because it's been just a little over 48 hours.
Yeah. Sunday night was exhausting. I didn't go to bed. We went and got dinner. Ended up going to bed a little after, I think, 1 a.m. And, yeah, woke up the next morning pretty early and drove to Ohio. So it's been, that was a 7.5, 8-hour drive, and had a lot of time to think about that, a lot of time to kind of process the weekend, and it just still feels crazy. Whenever you win a big tournament, things just it's exactly like what you said. It's a whirlwind, and everything's just colors and noise and talking and interviews and people, and it's just so fun to kind of sit back and think about the times where time slowed down and you were able to kind of focus in on the people that you really care about, your family and your friends. And so it was just an amazing experience being out there. And yeah, really just kind of reliving it over and over in my head.
What part sticks out the most to you? What are you reliving the most of maybe the weekend, the final day, whatever that is? Like, what sticks with you? What's the memory?
I think walking up the hill on 18, ever since the first time I played Ivy Hill, I just imagined what it would be like to win and to have 4,000 or 5,000 people packed around the green watching that last putt. And so it was just so cool because the first time I set foot on the course, I knew 18 was going to be kind of a magical, special place. and I got to be the one to enjoy um, that moment there, and so really just the green of 18 and everything that was going on there.
One thing I didn't get a chance to ask in your champs interview after the fact was, it felt like others had this sense of what's the word, faith in you. They had this sense of you performing well for the weekend, and I think Ganon maybe said it was after a practice round or something of that nature, but it just feels like there was a number of people, and maybe even going out on a limb at the time, but a number of people like, yeah, this sets up well for Isaac. Did you hear any of that chatter, or is there anyone that sticks out at you that you heard that from?
Yeah, I heard it from Gannon all week. We played a couple kind of head-to-head single shot practice rounds where we were just, going head-to-head for $5, and beat him every time. Wasn't even really close.
Damn.
And I think that gave me a lot of confidence heading into the weekend. And I don't know. It's just weird when all of your friends are like, "Dang, you're playing really well this week." It's kind of a confidence booster, especially when your friends are, some of them are better than you. And so there was that, and I think I knew kind of deep down that things were looking really good for me, but I didn't want to come across as overconfident. I didn't want to be like, "Oh, I'm going to win," and then because then if you lose, then it's like, well, that guy was a moron. So there's a little bit of that, but deep down, I just kind of kept it quiet, but I knew it was going to be a good week.
Is there something about Worlds for you? I mean, clearly, 2-time world champ. You didn't win you didn't win an Elite Series event between Worlds. But yet you show up to the biggest event 2 years in a row, and you kind of handily walk away with it by the end. Like, there was not a lot of drama that final round from your perspective. I think you might ask a few other people where their drama was, but it kind of felt like that by the fifth round, it was like, all right, cool, Isaac's going to win this. At least that was my perspective. I'm sure there's a lot of doubts creeping into your mind at that point, but or maybe there's not.
Yeah. I think so. My only goal for the week was to have a shot at winning at the end. I don't think anybody can realistically be like, I'm going to take this one down. But you can realistically tell yourself, I just want to be in contention. And so that's what I had told myself all week. And I really put in the work the week before. I was playing 2 rounds a day, practicing, taking a nap in between a round, and then I'd go out and do field work, go out and putt. So I just kind of lived and breathed disc golf for a while before the tournament. And then I think I got 5 rounds on each of the courses. And that just made me feel so confident heading into the week. Felt really well prepared. And just ready to kind of... Worlds is one of those where I'm always excited to play it. And so when I'm excited and enjoy being somewhere, then I usually play a little bit better as well.
At what point do you, especially with all those practice rounds, when did you feel like, okay, I know my game plan, now I just have to hone in on executing? Was that by the time you were done with your first or second practice round, and then it was a matter of repeating, or was it all the way until the very end where you're thinking, I'm still in between. I may go this route, or I may do this on a certain hole. When did you have the game plan itself like locked?
Yeah, it was different for both courses. New London, obviously, pretty much straightforward. You either hit the gap or you don't, and you want to get into the correct landing zone, but the only way to do that is to hit the gap. So New London, it took me maybe 2.5 practice rounds to figure out, yes, these are the discs I'm throwing, these are the shots I'm going to throw, this is where I want to land. Ivy Hill, though, probably one of the last practice rounds. I was like, all right, this one, I know what I'm going to do, made up to stick to my game plan and to really aim for specific spots. I kind of figured those out by round practice round 4 or 5.
What, and then immediately I think of, how does it feel to have a game plan and then per your scores and I'll say what feels like a lack of mistakes, what does it feel like to then go out and throw the shots that you want to be throwing? Were you ever...
We don't know what that's like.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't fathom the idea of like, here's what I want to do. And then 18 holes later, you can look back and be like, yeah, I did that on 16 of the holes or whatever it was per round.
Yeah.
What are you thinking that as it's happening of like, yeah, this is my game plan?
Yeah. For me, practice rounds, I'm like, all right, that felt good. That's where I want to be. I hope I can do that in the tournament.
Okay.
Because tournament mornings are so funny because you can wake up and you can feel so many different ways 24 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Wednesday you wake up feeling great, play great. Thursday you wake up, you're like, wow, I've never felt worse. And so then you just try to, warm up a little bit of extra time, get the kinks out, and go out and hit your lines. But disc golf is so funny because it feels like it can change in a matter of 24 hours. And so out at Ivy, I was just like, man, I hope I can hit these lines. And with some of the holes out there too, it's like, I hope I hit these lines and I hope I get a little lucky. Laying up on 14, that was always my game plan. But you never know if you're going to hit a rock and if you're going to take off rolling down the hill. Hole 4, you could hit the hay bales. You could be 6 inches off your line, hit the hay bales, and it's a stroke. So stuff like that, you really just have to take it as it comes. And, I think that's another thing I did well this week was kind of just handling the bad shots when they came, kind of handling them well and just letting them, immediately forgetting about them.
Well, it helps when you don't have many as well. You think?
Mm-hmm. True.
So if somebody's throwing 10 bad shots, they have a harder time forgetting about them, or yours seem to be so accurate so often. Do these set of courses, the two of them combined, or even individually, do they set up any better or worse for you than the next guy? Like when you see these courses, are you thinking, yeah, this is my game, or is there any other way that you kind of assess them, or, relative to your game?
I really don't think so. That's the crazy thing is I think that anybody in the top 15 to 20 could do the exact same thing that I did. They have the ability to throw the shots that I threw, and a lot of them the ability to throw even better shots. I think Worlds is such a mental battle that you really have to, with it being 5 rounds, you really just, even if you have a bad round, you can't count yourself out of it. And you just have to keep pushing and pushing and kind of have that mental toughness to go along with the game plan. So I don't think the shots out there, I wasn't throwing anything special, wasn't throwing anything flashy, and anybody could do that.
Someone asked on our board, of the 2 courses, did you have one that you had a preference to?
I think New London, obviously, by far.
Okay.
Yeah, such a good course out there.
When you look at your scores, obviously you shot really well, hot round at New London, and then you followed it back up with a 7 under, which was still considered pretty good. What would you consider your worst course or your worst play? Not your worst course, your worst play of the 5 rounds. What was where you were the least pleased with?
Man, I mean, looking purely at the score, obviously the last round was the worst one. But I felt like I did what I needed to do in the final round, so I don't think, who cares about the score at that point?
Right.
I think round 3, where I shot 6 down at Ivy, was by far the most stressful, and I think that would be one of my worst ones. Really got off to a bad start there on the front 9, and it was one of those where I was like, I'm gonna blow it. I told my dad, I was like, this is disaster, and he was kind of able to talk me through it, and I was able to kind of snap back and get 6 of the last 10 or something like that, and close out and turn it into a pretty solid round. But it did not feel good at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we saw it with both winners. Evelina ended up with Mr. James Proctor, but you once again had your dad. How vital now do you feel that is for you? And honestly, like you come next year, you're going to Europe. Are you buying a ticket for Pops? Is Pops getting,
Oh yeah.
Like
I think it's a great investment for me. Honestly,
it seems to have paid off.
Buy a plane ticket. Yeah. He is. I told him after both world titles, I was like, in Champions Cup, I was like, I could not have done that without you. And he just, I've said this a couple times, but he's somebody I can just bounce ideas off of. I can communicate very openly, very clearly with him, express frustration, and if I had a live mic on, people would think I'm crazy sometimes. But I think I told him I was going to quit and go home a handful of times at the tournament. I was like, this is just terrible.
You led wire to wire. What are you talking about?
I know. That's what I'm saying. But he's just, he sits there and he just takes it and he's like, all right, now hit this next shot. And it just makes it so much easier to forget about it. Once I get that rant over, it's done. It never affects the next shot. And it just keeps me very focused on what's ahead of me.
With that, and I love he's obviously a sounding board, and he does all of those things for you. Does he ever second guess or overrule you?
No, I did. I gave him one. I guess tip. I was like, Dad, I need you to remind me to look at all of the options when throwing a shot. Because I'm someone who gets up and I'm like, all right, the first thing I see, that's the one I'm going to throw. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, it might not be the best one. And so I told him, I was like, just remind me to look at all the shots, and and then we'll kind of talk about which one's the best one. So he obviously knows my game plan very well, and if I want to throw a shot, he's like, all right, sounds good, that's the shot we're throwing. And he never second guesses me, which is great, because I think if he were to do that, I would lose a little bit of confidence, and obviously you don't want that. So he's very supportive, and he just kind of gives me tips here and there.
Okay, well, and I guess part B to that question is, would you want him to ever challenge you, or again, are you just looking for almost essentially only positive affirmations?
Yeah, I don't think I would want him challenging me necessarily. I think I think I make the decision most of the time, and I make the right one. Once I've considered all the options, I think I make the right decision most of the time.
Yeah, I can't imagine if I were a caddy doing that on a drive, because you feel like your player has their game plan. They know off the tee what they're doing. It's when you get in those scramble situations. So you go at a bounds early. Maybe you're looking at a putt on hole 14, and you're like, Dad, I'm going to run this. And he kind of gives you that look like, okay. Like, things like that are where I would see a caddy-player relationship as opposed to versus on the tee, clearly. But if that's what works for you two, that's amazing, because it's, like as we said, 3 majors. That seems to work.
Well, and I think it's so crucial for you to share that, because every caddy is looking for something different. I've always been amazed by some of our top players that may or may not be good friends with the person on the bag, and they're genuinely asking
Paige
for
Pierce.
advice.
Paige Pierce,
and I'm always surprised.
100% she does that.
Okay, I mean, whatever that player is comfortable with doing, everyone has their. And I think, like you also said, I don't want to call them ground rules, but yeah, every caddy kind of has a different role based on what the actual player really, really wants out of them. And sometimes it's more or less talking or more or less affirmations or whatever. So speaking of the 3 majors, as Johnny just said now, in obviously a relatively short period of time, or a very condensed period of time too, how do you feel about where that does put you? And I know we kind of asked you this the other day, but where this puts you among world champions and just the greats of our game. How do you feel like 3 majors in this, I don't know, 17, 16, 18-month period? How do you feel about that timing?
Pretty great. It's hard to be disappointed in that. Yeah, it's neat to be kind of writing history in some ways, disc golf history, as someone who's done this. I think last year I had the shortest time between major wins, which is just a cool stat. Just to kind of say, yeah, I did. And then to be, only one of 5 people who's, won back-to-back worlds. It's just cool to be a part of history for the sport that I love. And, it's a relatively young sport, so who knows where this is going to go in the future. But it's cool to leave your mark while you have the chance.
Yeah, and well, with that, there obviously, and I feel more comfortable because you are such good friends with him, but there's so much chatter about the season Ganon Burr's having right now, and he'll probably continue to have, obviously, a good season. And so much emphasis on him with being number 1 and having all these wins. He's got 2 majors now. You now have 3. Even comparing yourself to a good friend like him, what are how do you feel about that? Thinking, that's cool what you're doing, but I now have 3 majors.
Yeah, I think Gannon is one of those people that, he will be the face of disc golf at some point, and, you might say he already is. He's just so good, and he's so consistent. And to be able to hold 2 world titles over his head is pretty fun, because I know it bugs him.
Yes.
He told me at dinner, we went out after on Sunday, and he was like, Isaac, I'm so excited for you, and that's great, but I am so jealous. And the world title is pretty much one of the only ones that he's missing from his resume, and to have at least 2 years before he can match the world titles is pretty great. Because I know that's bugging him.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's not passing you for at least 3 years, and that's only if that's
for world championships.
Yeah, for world championships.
He could get majors.
I know. I'm just saying, he'd have to run off 3 worlds just to get past you in world titles. So, yeah, that's a tall task that may or may not ever happen. And like you're saying, it's got to feel pretty good to hang it over the guy that's a foot taller than everybody else. So you got something to hang on him.
So do you take, and maybe it's something you guys have discussed amongst your friend group, do you take the world championship titles, do you put them at a higher importance than the other majors? I mean, I think there's in general, us being old, that was the peak. But now we have 4 majors every year that are phenomenal events that, in theory, should kind of all hold the same weight, but they still don't. What do you think?
Yeah, Worlds is definitely, adding an extra round in there, making it 5 rounds instead of 4, I think adds some weight to it. It's such a prestigious title that I think is only closely followed by the USDGC. That's the next one that's the one I want to win bad. But yeah, the other majors, European Open, obviously I would put that in kind of the 3rd spot for majors, and then Champions Cup purely because it's so new and we've seen it move around a bunch of different times. It doesn't hold the same weight, so I don't think you can compare Champions Cup and USDGC and say these are equal. I think USDGC takes a lot more precedence in that race there, but yeah, Worlds is definitely a better one to win than all the others for sure.
Well, let's follow that up with, as much as you can share, what does this mean in terms of contract or sponsorship bonuses? And I phrase this because someone like Calvin Heimberg has kind of openly said, and I think Paul and Macbeth have both said at one time or another, I don't care about all these other wins, where I've placed in majors and winning majors and so on and so forth. Like my contracts are kind of heavier, leaning into those things because that's what they're more concerned about. I don't know how your contract is structured, but yeah, are you getting your bag? And what does this mean in terms of more support or whatever?
Yeah. World's bonus is pretty big for me. It's very close to the purse size of the actual event. So awesome. Nice little payday there, which is great. As far as contracts go, this is a contract year, and so I think I have a lot more negotiating power, whether that's with Prodigy or, if I get other offers, then we'll talk about that. But, either way, I think it's been this year's been a success, and it's been a year that, last year I was like, man, I wish this was a contract year, just because it was such a good year. And that's something you want in a contract year. And so to be able to take down Worlds a second time kind of adds a little bit more weight to the contract year, a little more excitement, and something I'm just looking forward to hearing the deals that come my way and hearing the offers that people are tossing out at me.
Yeah, well, you're worth less this year because you only got one major so far. So you'll need to get a USDGC to get the two to make sure you're just as good as you were last year. Yeah. That's my thought.
Sound logic. Sound logic. Don't let this guy be your agent is what I would say. I'll follow that up and say, because it is the internet and there's these things called rumors, there's a lot of people that already are speculating that because you have good friends and obviously your success is on top of it, a lot of people have already pegged you for going to Discmania. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the internet chatter certainly already, thinks that's a done deal. Just breathe if that's true or not. No. Is there anything that I'll just give you the opportunity? Is there anything to dispel or deny or enhance that?
Are you even having talks yet? Like we're in August.
No talks with anybody. No talks with Prodigy yet. No talks with any other company. So, I would share as much as I could, but unfortunately, that's it. So there's no fun rumors kind of going around right now.
Well, they're going around. It's just you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I'll twist that question a little bit then and say, what goes through your mind? You're flipping through Facebook. I know you keep up on the socials. You're flipping through, and all these people are just going on and on and on with all these predictions or stories or rumors or thoughts or projections. What are you thinking as you're flipping through that?
Oh, they make me laugh a good bit.
Okay.
Definitely towards the end of the year, I'm gonna try to stir up as much rumor as I can. I think that's fun. So there'll be some trolling going on.
Okay.
No matter where I'm going, but yeah. So it'll be, you can't believe anything you see on the internet. So I think that's gonna be. I'm gonna kind of play into that a little bit towards the end of the year.
What Ganon did last year with his
videos. Which brings me to my next question about social media. There was a post going around from the On the Box page about how, I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, he did.
Was that really you? Was that your account that posted the word "same" on there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, just making sure, because I had heard some people say, someone had said like, oh, there's another Isaac Robinson account on there kind of trolling people. And I looked at it. It was the right picture. It had all the matching friends. I'm like, that really looks like him, but you just never know. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that was your comment of "same."
Yes, it was.
We leaned into that. I saw it myself, and then I brought it up the next morning within our pre-production meeting, and our producer said, "Oh, I saw it too," and we actually already did clip it, and they had it all prepped as a. I love it, and I'll reiterate, like, that's part of what I love about our sport at the same time, that you can read something, because we are ultimately a pretty small community still. You can read something, you can have a hilarious reaction to it, and that it's genuine and that it's, all part of our Disc Golf family still. Was there anything else that you read during the week that either struck a chord positively or negatively with you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the comments that made me laugh were the ones where is like Isaac didn't he's played like crap all year, and now he wins this one. It's just that's ridiculous, and I didn't feel like I played like crap all year. Sure, at the beginning of the year. But I had some good finishes in there, and so I was like, "Huh, that's kind of funny." It's funny that people think that, but it's the internet. People are going to say whatever they want.
Let me follow that up real quick, and then we'll talk about you. You of course have had some great finishes, but real quick, the other I'll say a common one, and again I feel comfortable saying it to you. The other common one is like, I don't want to watch. This is so boring. He plays such boring golf. And I think boring could be, substituted with the word like near perfect. But anyway.
Why don't you get into more trouble? Why don't you have more spectacular putts and saves?
Yeah. How do you react to the people that say like, oh, it's just so boring to watch you do this? I mean.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think one is it's so hard for your personality to come out on the course in the middle of like the most important round of your life. You're not going to be joking and laughing and goofing off because that's not appropriate for the setting. And in terms of shots, I don't throw 700 feet, so I'm not going over the trees all the time. Or I want to be close to the basket, so I'm not hitting 60-foot putts all the time.
Thank you.
So it's effective golf. It might not be the most fun to watch. I'm relatively quick and casual. So it's kind of a weird combination. There's no buildup of suspense. People aren't like waiting 30 seconds for me to putt. Just be like, oh, is he going to make it? Is he not? I just kind of get up there and I just kind of throw it. And, it's part of my style. It's part of my game. And I can see how it comes across as boring for some people, but I like to look at it at the end of the day and be like, hey, I got the job done. I got another world title. That's fine with me.
You said it perfectly. I think so many. Well, he doesn't do anything flashy. He doesn't need to. If you always are finding the fairway, and then you're, like you said, quickly and effectively putting. There doesn't need to be necessarily a long throw in or 10 connections from circle 2, because that means you're probably getting it closer. I completely agree. It's funny that people want to rag on that as, whether it's boring to watch or whatever. It's you right. The goal of golf is to play as little golf as possible, and you find ways to do that. That makes sense. So as Johnny's pulled up, looking at your season,
you started out a little slow. I mean, you had a 6th at chess.com, and then you went through a lull, we'll say, where you took
Texas,
the Texas Waco, you were in 47th, Open in Austin 29th, then 22nd, and then 10th, but then dropped down to 71st at Music City. Like, you had a slow patch, which I think is what a lot of people remember. What they don't seem to remember is the more recent things that you pulled off, like 9th at DDO, 13th at OTB, 4th at Portland, 20th at Beaver State, 3rd at the Preserve, 4th at European. Like, you've been playing very well. This isn't a shock to anyone that's paid attention to your season, correct?
No, I mean, it's I don't think I've missed a top 10 since Preserve, I guess. That could be wrong.
Des Moines, you were 15th, but nonetheless, okay, I mean, you're trending in the right direction.
People don't count.
Yeah, so in the past 2 months is kind of what I'm looking at, and I've had a lot of good finishes there, and I feel like my game is finally coming around to the right, where I want it to be to close out the season, and we got a lot of big events left. So if I can take 1 or 2 more of these down, that's a very successful season in my books.
I'll ask this because I see your brother on our board. He says that you played like crap. I think I've also heard him say you're the luckiest player in disc golf. Do you think that's true? Mm-hmm. Do you look at your results and be like, man, I guess I did get more lucky than some of these guys? Or was that not the case this weekend?
That's an interesting question, because I really do hate that stereotype that's been kind of put upon me by Ganon and Ezra.
The guys you
I
beat.
do get lucky. Everybody gets lucky, especially in the woods. And I think in the woods I'm a little bit better than most players, and so I'm off by a little less. And so if I do happen to get a good kick, it's because I'm off by a little less than maybe some other people. But everybody gets lucky breaks out there. Everybody gets bad breaks. I've gotten plenty of bad breaks. So it's one of those things where it's like they're just giving you crap, and you just got to take it.
To be fair,
it's a good brotherly thing to do. If that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I think how people react to their breaks helps set up a narrative right off the bat too, right? If you're constantly complaining about literally every single break, or things that maybe were just a bad shot, like just they're kind of like spits. Like if you complain about every disc that hits chains and falls out, and you're calling everything a spit, then it's harder to like take you seriously when there is a real spit or something like that. Like to me, it's a little bit contextual. So like you said, if you're throwing more good shots than not, and some go your way, I mean, at the end of the day, it's numbers. I don't think it's even karma or anything else. It's just eventually it all shakes out. It just maybe depends on when in the round or when in a tournament does it feel like it's extra good or extra bad. So
exactly. I mean, hopefully. Worlds, you could say my disc sitting down and not rolling down the hill. Yeah, that was a lucky break. That because it came at the right time. So, and it was on camera, so people are going to say that's pretty lucky. So,
well, let's go there just for a moment. I feel like hole 14 could be its own segment. I don't want to beat it to death.
I do,
but what I will ask you is, one of my other rebuttals, and it's kind of along the lines you're saying, is 14, a huge topic of conversation for lots of different reasons. But one immediate thing I say is, if hole 14 and that green is actually, say, hole 3, does it get a lot less or some less criticism and emphasis because it's earlier in the round? Kind of like 17 at USDGC is so diabolical, and you can't imagine it not being in the latter half of the round. It can be a career breaker and a round breaker and a tournament breaker. But if 17 at USDGC or 14 are all of a sudden number 2 or 3 in your round, are they viewed differently?
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I think if it's early in the round, it's very easy to bounce back. If you have a bad shot on 14 and it rolls, you're like, oh, well, that's just a bogey, easy bounce back. If it's hole 14 and, you need every stroke possible and you roll down the hill, it's like, oh my gosh, this hole is the worst. This hole sucks. And so I really do think that, and I think that's a great perspective. I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, because I think we heard on camera you tell somebody that hole sucked, like that you didn't like the hole.
Yeah,
explain all of it. Like break that down. Like if you let's just say nobody saw it prior to this weekend, and you're explaining for the first time. Talk about what you do and don't like, and maybe even what you'd change.
Yeah, I think to change, first thing I would change is the green. I think you make a bullseye where it's flat. You have 8 to 10 feet where it's gravel, it's wood chips, and it's like a little cutout where you can safely lay up, you can safely run a putt. And other than that, I think that's the only change I would make. At first, going into the hole, I thought it was a terrible hole. I was like, only people who throw 600 feet can get this. And I think Nicholas proved that wrong. And so he kind of changed my mind about how that hole is made. Because he went on the inside gap, which was a risky gap, but it was there. And, he doesn't have 600 feet of power, but he was still able to get within, I think 40 feet to have a birdie look. And if he had that little flat cutout spot of, 8 to 10 feet, he runs that putt and it spits out and it's still tap-in range. You know, it's
Sure.
still there.
Probably sits down.
It's not 60. Yeah, it's not 100 feet away. So I think that would make it a really good hole, and I think people would be okay with that hole at that point.
Another point would be some people talked about just literally removing every rock and or maybe having some wood chips there, but I think it is now maybe a consensus that every person on the planet agrees removing every possible rock around there is maybe the start. Would you agree with that?
I think so. If the hill was grass, I don't think you'd have nearly as many people complaining as they are now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would make it better.
I think if you put like the plateau that everyone kind of thinks would be a decent idea, I don't think the rock removal is really necessary. Because I feel like then at least hey, if I hit this bullseye, I'm staying there. If not, it's flip a coin, man. It's a risk. It's kind of that's personally how I feel. In general, though, I don't know what you guys would have done. Had it been raining. Like that's my main complaint about that hill. Like it was. They would have probably had to move the basket in the rain, because that was a flat out. That was one of my concerns. It's a dangerous green in anything but ideal conditions. But yeah, that's a tough one.
I'll follow that up, and kind of mesh some of the logic. I would love the rocks gone entirely.
I wouldn't.
But as you just said, in a similar sense, that's what people seem to love and hate about De La, right? Is the fact that there's so many roots right next to the basket. Well, you could pop up and you could get De La'd, and it's like, I don't know if we're excited about that or if we're just okay with it because it is so old and iconic. But it feels at this point like when you can easily pick it up and just move it, a rock, a 5 or 10 pound rock. That's not quite the same as a root anymore, even though they may have the same, the same result. So, okay.
I also think on that topic, for a world title, it seems a little fluky. If you have, even if it was roots everywhere on the basket,
sure,
I think that would be a bad green, because whether you lay up or you run a putt, you could just get screwed over by some roots, and that could cost you a world's title at the end of the day.
When you saw Antala's putt come out, or even when you saw it go in the first time, what was your initial reaction to the putt itself? Obviously, we saw the result, but what did you think how good of a look did you have on the actual putt, and were you surprised to see the result?
From my angle, being a little below the basket, it looked dead center. It looked perfect height, perfect pace, just over the cage. And I knew he was going to make the putt as soon as he was lining it up. And so it was no surprise when I thought it was dead center. When it spit back out, I was like, how on earth did that spit out? It looked perfect. And going back and watching the coverage, it definitely was higher than I thought it was originally. And it just hit right on the pole. It didn't really hit any chains, and it just spit right back out in his face. It didn't look like that from the angle that I had, on the ground. It looked like it had barely got over the rim, and it was dead center.
It's tough because from that angle, you can't penetrate the chains. Like, you're coming up so high, you can't get a lot of that chain reaction that tends to save so many of our discs, as opposed to someone like Luke, who was 20, 30 feet back. He had what's crazy is that's a better putt. Being that close is, for Nicklaus's style at least.
Yeah.
If he were a turbo putter, that would probably work out much better for him. But for Luke, you step him back 20, 30 feet, that's such a better angle. Your disc comes in so much more flat. You can actually hit the fat part of the chains. Nicklaus was... Yeah, exactly. Nicklaus was unfortunate spot of being too close almost for his style of putt. It sucked, but I think, as I told other people who didn't like that idea, I'm like, he made the right decision, but any other round, there's 270 other degrees where you could have laid up to and dropped that in and not thought about it from there. But he had to run it based on where he was compared to you. So
When you're looking at, well, first of all, I'll just say this: I would bet all of my frisbees that green will look different next time it's played.
Next year,
yeah, in whatever it means, exactly what any mix of solutions or ideas that we've just had, or maybe a dozen others that have been shared, it's going to look or play different. I guarantee you that. Is there anything else about that course, especially after you getting it dialed in and playing the 3 of the 5 rounds there? Is there any other pieces on that course that you feel strongly enough, or if they said to you, hey, Isaac, it's kind of a bump or a thought, we'd love, any feedback you got, we'd really like to implement it. Is there anything you'd change out there?
Get rid of hole 6 completely.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's no variation to it. Could you make the landing zone a bigger teardrop or bottle or catch area, or just get rid of it entirely? What?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed just like a walk to hole 7. A very stressful, very touchy walk to hole 7.
Okay.
Which I didn't super love. I think if they widened it up a bit, widened up the green, it could be fine. But it just wasn't a super impressive hole. I would love to see hole 5 pushed back, the tee pad pushed back, make it a par 5. I think par 4 you have like 4 people getting it all around. Maybe less than that. I haven't checked it.
It was about 10. Oh, no, I'm sorry. First round we were out there. I think there were 4, and we saw 2 of them on coverage. Yeah, right. It was like AB and whoever, maybe Luke or somebody else. Yeah, maybe AB and Luke. There was literally, I think, only 4, and I think we were 6, and we saw. No, there's more than that.
This is the finals round.
Oh, so. Final round, which had the best of the best at it, and people figuring it out a little. There was about 8 or 10?
9.
And how about round 2? I think I felt like we saw almost all of them on coverage, or half of them on coverage. No, there was a lot.
Round 2, there was about 12, 13.
Oh, okay.
Like
So anyway, it was 10-ish% of the field.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better than I thought, honestly.
Okay.
But I think if you put that tee pad back, you have people go for eagle. The people who can would go for eagle, and then people like me and the rest of the field would get a relatively easy birdie, I guess. But I think laying up and playing for par is not fun to watch on a hole like that, because I throw a 450-foot shot off the tee, have no shot at the basket. I throw a 200-foot pitch up and another 200-foot pitch up, and then I'm there. And that's not the most entertaining, I don't think, for the spectators. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't really care to see that. So yeah, I think push that one back a little bit, and then I think on 17, get rid of the long OB. Or push it back to the hill so that only very bad shots get to the OB long. Because I saw way too many people. Anthony in round 2 threw just the smoothest, butteriest little flex with a disc, and it looked like it was just the perfect shot, and it hit right by the basket and scooted 6 inches out of bounds, and he was only 15 feet away. And that's the difference that's a 2-stroke swing right there. And so I think that hole was a little unnecessarily hard coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I like that. I think I really agree with the idea of there's OB back there somewhere, but back it up more to give you a little bit more breathing room. And I know there's a natural stream there, which is maybe what they were playing into, is the fact that there was a stream, so it created a natural boundary, but just a little bit more room. And just think, if you make that OB, we'll say even 30 or 40 feet deep, and you have a 38-footer, you're putting straight back at the water probably anyway. So you can then decide, hey, do I want to lay up, or do I still want to try and make the putt?
It becomes very similar to hole 16 at the country club, or the community, whatever it's called now.
Sure. Yeah.
In Emporia.
Eagles Crossing
Yeah.
or Eagles Landing.
Yeah.
Or Champions Landing.
Yeah, or
Landing.
put hay bales back there so that the low shots get caught up. And if you air it past the basket, well, then, yeah, you go OB.
Sure.
But the good shot hit by the basket will stay in.
I was just going to say, along those lines, how you just explained 5. Do you feel like some people could think 14 could be boring? I know it wasn't because of the rollaways, but is 14 almost a little too long then? Or do you feel like it still has the right distance to it?
I think it could be a little long. The only thing, you could take the inside line, as we saw.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they cleaned up the branch on the inside line that was kind of hanging over, I think that provides a real challenge to where it takes the luck out of the shot. Where some people get through the branch, some people don't. But if you take the branch out, now you have to hit this little tricky flip up hyzer that's pretty risky, or you can just play it safe and around and play for par. But I think that Nicklaus proved that the hole wasn't too far.
Okay.
Because, if I had gone inside route 2, I feel like we have similar distances. I could have also had a birdie look. Granted, it probably would have been a circle 2, 40, 45 feet. But that's very makeable,
Yeah, there was one person on the final day that made it into C1 in regulation. Circle 1 in regulation. One single person. And only 17% of the people, just 15 of them, made it into C2 even. So I kind of felt like the second shot was maybe just a hair too long. But if you think that by taking, if they clear up that inside route and that's a better route, that changes the hole, and maybe these numbers are way different, and then we could address it then. So So you are in Ohio. Are you in Ohio right now, or are you already? Is this just a stop on the way to Deglow, or is there a reason you're in Ohio? Something special or specific?
Yeah, we me and the rest of the guys are doing an event with Urban Disc Golf. So we're gonna be doing a clinic and kind of hanging out at a league up here, vending, I think, a small tournament on Saturday. So it's really just kind of a week off and a week to kind of connect with people, meet people, talk to people, just do disc golf stuff. So it should be a nice, relaxing week.
A couple follow-ups to that. First of all, the urban disc golf I've seen is, again, I don't watch a lot of other stuff. I did tune into one of those at one point this year. I forget where they were or what you guys. It's awesome. It is so damn cool. Big shout out to those guys. I meant to reach out and just compliment what they're doing, because I think it's really cool, everything that they're doing with it. And then second of all, was it last year that you pretty much got right to playing, or did we just have a break? I was trying to think about what followed your post Worlds win, and how does it differ from this year? Didn't you go play like A tier at home or something, or a B tier or something?
It was the Silver Series in Canada, where
okay.
Never-ending playoff.
Yes, that's right. Okay, that's what it was.
Yep.
And people are going to Canada this weekend. Is that right? Or is that later in the year? Ripped? That sound right?
That's after Deglow, which I like that as well.
Okay. All right. And now we'll give them some free advertising. What's going on with that? I've seen a few people talking about it. Is different property, different event, or same thing, just rebranded? What are we looking at for that?
It's a DGPTQ series.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure where it is. I think it's somewhere near Toronto. I could be totally wrong, so I hope I'm not butchering. But it's just on the way from Deglow to Green Mountain.
Okay.
And it's like right on the way. You basically drive through there anyway. And it seems like a really cool event. We've gotten lots of emails about it. They're super excited to have a bunch of tour players up there, and I know me and the rest of the guys are really looking forward to spending time up there.
You mentioned in a moment ago, as we were talking a little bit about coverage, what have you consumed? What have you gone back to either look for yourself in terms of what happened or didn't happen, or even just soaking it all in? What have you consumed, if anything, in terms of the entire week?
I watched final round back or front nine on my drive up here, and I was mainly looking, to make sure that the OB calls on for some of our card, I wanted to kind of double check those and see that we made the right call, see if we didn't make the right call, and I think we ended up making all the right calls, which was great to see. And I just like hearing what different commentators have to say about the round, about how people are playing, who's in it, who's out of it. And so I watched the Jomez coverage the next day, and it was very fun.
Yeah, and that's and it's interesting to hear that perspective. Obviously, there's all these pros and cons. I don't expect you to go back and watch a 4-hour round of it live.
I do.
But what I'll say to that is clearly when they're either outplaying and or they know all of the outcome and are watching it that night, as opposed to any live commentators, not just myself and Nate Doss, like just the overall perspectives, like they know what's happening. Yeah, essentially.
It's performative for the people who don't want to watch live. And
and I'm not making any judgments. I'm not trying to get there.
No,
I just am saying that is even interesting from their perspective of, because obviously I do post-production coverage as well, usually after I film it. So I know what that's like. It's just a very, how you can factor in different things that are going on, because it's 8 hours after the fact. And hey, somebody from the fourth card's actually doing this or doing that, and because you played with them, or whatever. It's and I said it to you, and I'll say it again. I am so glad that specifically the call on 10 was ultimately made correctly. You guys had that conversation, and it was called right. But that was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seemed as if that's a criticism or a suggestion on your behalf, at least, of maybe we need a few more spotters and a few key spots on that course, at least. Is that a fair way to put it?
Absolutely. And I talked to somebody, and I told them I would even like it to be PDGA officials, because at the end of the day, I think I would speak for most of the tour. I don't want a random volunteer deciding where I went out of bounds if the world is on the line.
Sure.
Because first of all, that's a lot of pressure for them. If they have a player that they like or dislike, or they feel uncomfortable deciding a spot, well then don't put them in that situation. So I would like to see PGA officials out there in key spots. And key spots are hard to figure out because you can't say hole 10, top of the hill, right side is going to be a key spot for the tournament.
Correct. Yeah. In fact, it seems like a really boring, obvious spot almost, right? Your shot proved otherwise, but you would almost even. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, I would like to see maybe some more PGA official spotters out on the course than we do now. I think that would be kind of huge for the sport, big for a lot of the players. I know we have it, the one that comes to mind is European Open hole 3, where that guy specifically, he's there for a reason to make sure whether you crossed inbounds on the par 5 or whether you didn't. And there's no arguing with him, and they make a big deal out of that. So I think if we had more spots like that, things could go a little smoother maybe.
Okay. Maybe to touch on the smoothness, there was discussions about various hole design, and thankfully we were blessed with good but hot weather throughout the weekend, so weather wasn't an issue. Overall, in terms of the smoothness of the event and in terms of the procedures and the timeliness and those types of things, how do you grade this event versus any other?
This event was great. I think the way they ran the courses, ran the venues, it was really nice. one of the things I really liked that was new to me, and maybe I just hadn't realized it before. But as soon as they saw a player going from the practice green to hole one, they sent somebody from the PDGA to escort them to the tee pad, and that was just great because you're not going to get really talked to, you're not going to get autographs shoved in your face right before you tee off, and that was just it. It was an extra step of professionalism that really went a long way, and really was just frankly kind of simple. And so I think that was one of the things that stood out to me about this week. And other than that, I didn't really have any complaints about anything.
Okay. Yeah, and kudos, obviously, the Ledgestone team, the PDGA, all the volunteers on site, both courses, the municipalities, the countless volunteers that are out there in any capacity, and then you have Ivy Hill as a host. Like, there are so many moving parts, and it's so easy for stuff to fall through the cracks, slip through the cracks, and maybe even go underappreciated or unnoticed. But by and large, hearing you say that along with others, it seemed like the resounding response has been, this ran pretty smooth and things went really well.
It was great. From the players meeting, it was concise, it was quick, got the information, got out of there. And then really it kind of set the stage for the whole week. It was just like, we're here to do Worlds, and we're going to make it run smooth. And so the PDGA and, like you said, Ledgestone Group and everybody out there, security, volunteers, really put on a great show.
Yeah, and nothing for nothing. And you've seen some of these, some of these venues recently. Ivy Hill, I've been around a while. I think it was my 44th Worlds I've been part of.
God, you're old. You're only 46. How does that happen?
I played in 20. I ran one. I worked a couple, and then media and another 15 or 20 of them. But Ivy Hill, like, maybe there's adjustments to the course in various places, but by and large, what a venue, right? I mean, compared to anything else you've recently been impressed by.
Oh, yeah. By far one of the best venues. Everything is just so nice. I think the nicest golf course we've played on. I'm surprised they let us out there. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't agree more. I love the setting that they provided. It's great to have parking. It was great to have the vendors, the food, the disc golf vendors, really everything was pretty much right there. And I was very impressed myself. My only personal complaint is, like, if we're going to be upstairs ever again in that attic, let's get it finished off with some air conditioning.
Oh, poor Terry.
Because it got steamy up there as the week went on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'll put you in an attic when it's 95 degrees.
I'm not
with a bunch
judging
of bright lights and
bit.
camera operating.
I don't want to wait too much longer on this. I saw today, or was it yesterday, that there is a new collector's edition. Isaac Robinson, 2-time world champ, back-to-back PA3 300 set. Are those the type of putters that you particularly use, I'm assuming, right?
Yep, 300 soft.
All right. So is there anything it's a bottom stamp as well?
Yep.
And it looks like it's a 2-pack for $32, and you can find that on the Prodigy website. Are we going to see any other Isaac Robinson Worlds merch? Are we going to see another disc, something special, maybe some hats? What are we looking at for the future of Isaac Robinson memorabilia? Or
Well, I think they dropped some 500 Glimmer D1s. They're also black and gold, I believe, and so those are pretty sick. We're talking about more stuff in the future, so this is kind of the stuff that they have on hand at the moment that they're just going to pump out, and then we're going to get some more discs and probably some more apparel further down the line once we get the stuff in house. So definitely be on the lookout for more merch.
And obviously, if someone were to go out and purchase these, some of that is there to support you as well. That's going to help. It's going to help you out.
Of course. Yep.
Okay. With a sizable check here, with a sizable bonus, and then more merch rightfully on its way. I wish I would have went back and watched last year's, because I don't remember what you said. But where's the splurge? What is one thing that you maybe wouldn't otherwise have done in collecting this check and this title? Where's the splurge going to be in the next? Whether maybe you already did it, but where's the splurge?
Yeah, I'm getting married in November, so probably more towards that than anything else. Honeymoon, might have got upgraded a little bit.
I'm sure she does not mind hearing that one bit. Like, oh, we get the nice suite. This is great.
Yep.
No.
I told her after, I was like, this is a good paycheck for us,
Yeah. So. What do you remember what you said last year? The splurge was?
It definitely wasn't weddings, so I don't know.
I think you'd said something like you were possibly looking at a house.
Yes, actually, that does sound right.
Okay.
Still looking.
Don't look at me like that, Miller.
Oh, no, good job. Johnny remembered something.
That's a good memory.
Huh. Okay. I mean, I feel like we see, like, most famously, I think of a Billie Eilish who does like the same Vanity Fair interview for like 10 years in a row. I mean, at this rate, we're going to have to look at you after every Worlds and see what you tell us and how your answers, compare year after year. I'm sure you wouldn't mind that.
No. If we have to keep having these interviews, that's great.
So my question, that night, Sunday night, you go to dinner with the guys. Do they buy you dinner or do you buy them dinner?
Yeah, so we had a tradition where I told them, last year I was like, if I win Worlds, I'll buy you guys dinner, and so I kind of kept that true to this year as well, and somebody else ended up actually paying, so I think I owe them dinner again, so they got 2 free dinners.
You just hang around with your crew long enough, yeah, you're gonna make it work.
Who's the guy that gets 2 steaks? Is it Ganon?
Yeah, it's Gavin. It's
Gavin.
All right.
I'll get my plug in there. I left way after everyone else. I will quickly shout out. I appreciate Kelvin Heimberg, who didn't win. He purchased Waffle House, so we're not quite on your level. You doing the steaks and all, but Kelvin graciously
is not that. It's a little above one.
Well, I'll thank him publicly nonetheless. So, all right. I guess the only other kind of question that would have fit in somewhere was, with this success and with what you've already done this year, especially recently, is there anything else that you would make this season, I don't want to say more successful, obviously more wins, more top finishes. Those are kind of an obvious thing, but maybe to reword that, is this season already a success by your account?
I don't think I can say it's not a success. Taking down the biggest title of the year, that'll always be a success.
And that title's Fiancé, right? That's the title?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got you, pal.
Good one, Johnny.
Saved me. Thank you. I owe you Waffle House now.
Yes.
No, I think the only thing that my goal at the beginning of the year was to be consistently in the top 10, and that's come about now. Kind of towards the end of the season, and so next year it's definitely going to be a focus. I want to be the the Ganon Burr, the Calvin Heimberg, where they're always pushing, always there, right there for the win. But as far as this year goes, like you said, if I can win, I got my eyes on Green Mountain. Obviously a lot of great memories there. Playoff event would be huge, and USDGC or the Pro Tour Finals would be great. I'm going to win one of those one day. I don't know if it's this year or not, but that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, and clearly with play like that, there's no reason why you couldn't pick up a couple more victories here.
With the Pro Tour Championship being back in Lynchburg, right?
Not till next year.
Next year, that's what I'm saying.
Year.
Like you said, get one eventually.
Yeah.
If you don't get it this year, next year's looking tasty.
Yeah.
That's true.
Clearly, we just got the free plug in there for Prodigy, but you have others that support you, and someone just said, how can they even find you or run into you? Maybe they said might run into them while they're in their hometown if they can't make the event this weekend. How can others support you, whether it's through purchases or finding you somewhere? What are some of the other things and ways we can show support?
Yeah, I mean, if you ever happen across me in a public place, I'd love to talk to you. Don't be, a lot of people will shoot me a message later and be like, "Oh, I saw you at this place, but I didn't want to say hi." Just please come say hi. I'd love to talk to people. I love meeting other disc golfers, and that's just part of the fun of being on tour and being in different places each week. But as far as support goes, check out 1010 Discs. They got pretty much every disc you ever want. Awesome retailer, great disc golf family. Just love them. Vessi shoes, they're kind of getting into disc golf. Been wearing them all year, and they are just such a great, solid pair of shoes. So check them out, and then, give me a follow on Instagram, Facebook, shoot me a message. Love to talk to you.
All right. Any codes right now, or maybe that gets published through an Instagram later, but any coupon codes or merch codes or anything like that are specific to you at any of those places?
I know I have one with Vessi.
Okay.
In my Instagram bio, you can find it there. I don't know.
Okay.
Don't want to buy it off the top of my head, but yeah, the rest of them, I hope I don't have coupon codes and I'm just not representing well, but
you'll know by tomorrow if you do.
I'll get a message from somebody, but yeah.
Maybe one of the final questions then, before we cut you loose, you've been so gracious, I know, with everybody with your time. Is there anything you want to dispel or address or answer that you either saw or read or questioned or anything at any point, or maybe something that you thought was funny but dead wrong, or funny or not funny and dead wrong? Is there anything out there that any stone that hasn't been unturned, so to speak, of anything you'd like to talk about or address?
No, I think we did a good job of that kind of earlier.
Okay.
We talked about there, but yeah, feel like it's going pretty well.
Awesome. Well, I mean, hey, if you don't have, some stupid rumor or nasty thing to address, or you don't have some controversy that you're part of, like, there's nothing wrong with that too. If there's nothing, I love to give the floor to anyone that's like, I read this the other day and I just want to say they're dead wrong and they're stupid and here's why. Like, I'm here for that too.
I'll try to find one for next time, but yeah, okay. I think I'm good this time.
Now you just got to be that boring old world champ and play all that boring golf that leads you to world titles. All right. Well, with that, Isaac, Nate Daw said it so perfectly, and coming from him means hopefully as much as it could, in that he and I and the rest of the world love you as an ambassador for our game. You're so poised and humble, but yet so effective and efficient, and do so many things so well, and yet likable and approachable and all those other obvious things. And it's an honor to cover golf with you and to watch what you're doing. Again, we've been around a long time, so seeing people like yourself represent the sport, represent your sponsors, and represent a world title or multiple world titles now in the way that you do it's truly awesome to watch, and just super happy for you.
Thank you, Terry.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys.
Of course.
All right, my man. Funny enough, the first comment I saw was on my YouTube's today. Someone said, "Yeah, but where is he now?" Somebody found an Am Worlds video of you that it's on my channel from 7 years ago. So somebody should go back and relive a little Isaac Robinson Am Worlds action, because we know right where you are now, and it's right where you belong.
Oh yeah.
And we'll just put it on the calendar 1 year from now. Good for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Mark
that
you
sounds
down.
great. Same time, same place.
You
Same
got
time,
it.
Same place.
You got it, buddy. All right, everyone. That is your 2-time world champion. Goes out, gets the title defense. It's Isaac Robinson. Thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
You too.
You know, a lot of people right now are starting to call this the Ganon Burr era of disc golf because of how well he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that it's so tough to say that when you've got Isaac with 2 world championships. Like,
but to be fair, what Ganon
they're
and
doing,
AB have done this year alone
sure,
is almost insane. I mean,
I agree.
Is,
They're performing at a level that is,
and I'm not. That's not taking anything away from Isaac, of course. But racking up the wins that Ganon has also gotten.
yes.
And I want to be very
2
clear for
majors
the internet out here.
and-
There's nothing wrong with complimenting one person without feeling like you have to somehow degrade someone else. So I'm doing the exact opposite. Ganon has proven at so many big events, especially our longest events, all but this one this year, what he can do and how impressive he is in our 4-round, especially our Elite Plus and 4-round events. AB picking up 4 wins for a guy who didn't previously have one, and then coming out and rattling off 4 this year. Those are seasons people would die to have.
Of course.
And those guys have both done it. And now Ganon, Isaac, stepping up and defending and getting, so to speak, hot.
3 majors.
At this time of the year to stepping in.
It's just, to me,
it's awesome.
It
all
is.
of them.
It is. It's awesome. Like, we have so much talent in this sport right now that it's great to see. And I just think of these people that in generally talk about eras, the Climo era, the Macbeth era.
Sure.
The Paige Pierce era, the JK era. Like, I don't know what era we're in yet. It's so hard to say because I feel like we're coming out of the Macbeth era, and we won't know what we're doing for another 5-6 years. Like, if Isaac rattles off 3 more majors, it's the Isaac Robinson era. Even if Ganon puts up 15 more Elite Series wins, it's the biggest ones. It's so hard to look right now at where we're at, and I feel that way with FPO as well.
Well, and I just to follow that up, I agree that it's in flux, it's in limbo right now because it's more competitive than ever. Because let's just say in some world, Isaac doesn't pick up another major in the next couple years, Ganon doesn't get a major, and Antala rattles off 3 majors out of the next 8. Which also isn't crazy.
Not at all. He's taking second place.
That would be roughly Isaac's pace, right? Yeah. So let's say Antala rattles off 3, or let's even say 4 majors in the next 12. Over the next 3 years, he rattles off 4 majors, 1 being or 2 being a Worlds. Then it's like, well, can we start calling an Antala era? I mean, you're right. It's tough to put a finger on it specifically in FPO or an MPO era right now. Because there's a handful of guys that are just not dominant by anybody.
I think if Nicholas were to do that, something like that, we would look back at this era as the European era with the FPO European players and then Nicholas. I think that would maybe get bunched in, something like that. But just, again, some people, I'm not ready to call this the KT era, the Tatar era yet. I don't think she's played long enough. She's been dominant for 2.5 years. But we don't have a Nate Doss era. It just doesn't exist. Like I love Nate to death, but there was a 5-year period between Climo and Macbeth. You had Doss win 2, Thelberg won 1.
Avery
won one. Like
won.
you just McCabe won 1. You just don't call that like any of those particular players' era. It's just there was Macbeth. There was Climo, and then there was Macbeth. There is a gap there, and maybe we go through 5 years where we don't have an era. Like it might be a repeat of something like that. And again, I'm just saying we won't know until we see it. Anyone that's telling you right now we're in one of these players' eras they're very much banking on the future is my thing.
And or just being a little recency bias,
of course,
and slightly short-sighted. Again,
and I'm okay with it.
You have to look at a little more longevity of if a Ganon put together 2, 3, 4 majors in the next 4 or 5 years, then maybe. But what if somebody else, let's say Ganon has 5 majors and somebody else like Robinson here has 4 majors? At that point, again, is one more dominant than the other? Not necessarily. So
no, not at all.
These are great arguments to have that we get to argue regularly and discuss who's currently the best player. Yeah, and like you just said with reference to Tatar, you look at everybody screaming, "Goat, goat, goat, she's the greatest of all time." She finished 3rd in a Worlds, following up 2 Worlds titles after an injury, after taking down this massive comeback at the European Open. Does anybody at any point that's been yelling "GOAT" for the last 6 months or 12 months or whatever time they started yelling that, is it still true? Does she need to win 1 or 2 or 5 more Worlds to truly be considered the greatest?
Yes.
Or are you still calling her the greatest of all time because she got her back-to-back Worlds?
No.
Like that again feels, I'm not saying she's not going to rack up 5 more, but with 2, and if she never wins another one, is she still the greatest of all time per
No, it's all recency bias.
Lately's definition.
Well, I mean, again, look at your definitions. Is she the player that has in the history of our sport had the highest skill set? Yes. Period. Like, she has been better than any other woman in history. But in 5, 7, 10 years, we're going to look at Kristen Tatar and go, "Oh, that's cool. She was the first 1,000 rated player. Look at these other 3, 4, 5,000 rated FPO players in 10 years, probably." I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. That's how sports go. Every generation is seemingly better than the next. Rules change and all this other crazy stuff that you can always, that's the whole point of being, talk radio, so to speak, is that you get to sit and banter about, who's best. Was it Climo? Was it Macbeth? Blah, blah, blah. It's discs and horses and whatnot. But I think that we are in for a very good next decade of disc golf, regardless of how you look at it.
Well, with that, one of those people, real quick, I'll just say it's not my random birthday time, because Eliezer Midling is celebrating a birthday today, if I recall seeing that on 17? The socials. I'm not sure. I don't want to guess for sure. But she's celebrating a birthday today, is what I saw out there.
Happy birthday, Eliezer.
So I saw her. Also,
Jeff Spring as well?
Jeff Spring.
I saw some happy birthdays to him.
Disc Golf Pro Tour CEO. And a pair of World Disc Golf Hall of Famers celebrate birthdays today.
I don't know who this is.
One of them has the same first name as me with the middle name Pirate.
Oh, Terry Calhoun.
Terry Calhoun, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Out of Michigan.
And then a world champion, the youngest ever of all time.
Oh,
on the MPO side.
On the MPO side, you're looking at Ferris, right?
Sam Ferens.
So Ferens, yeah, sorry. Sam Ferens.
Sam Ferens celebrates. So lots of other birthdays. Juju out of...
not Ferris Bueller.
Not Ferris Bueller's. Yeah. Ferris Bueller. Juju out of Southern California, and a buddy of mine. Lots of people, but I wanted to get a few birthday shout-outs in that happen to be on the day today. It's pretty cool to think now there's at least 2 Hall of Famers that share, that are in the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame that share a birthday today.
Okay. That's cool. All right, let's talk.
And the GOAT, Eliezer.
The GOAT, the brand new GOAT, because she's the furthest throwing woman, the new GOAT. Let's talk a little bit about other MPO scores. We had our winner, Isaac Robinson, he won by 4 strokes over Nicholas Antala. Antala has, as we just said, he's been on the lead card of a major like the last 4 or 5 in a row, which is ridiculous. And he is just on the cusp of getting that victory. He's kind of one of those kids. He's so young that you just say, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's going to be a matter of which one does he eventually get. So I wouldn't count him out for any of the next 5 to 7 majors.
Mm-hmm.
In 3rd place, moving up 2 spots, and in general, kind of suddenly coming on in the last week or two, Eagle McMahon. Eagle, who has just not really been performing extremely well so far this season. I know he's coming off of an injury. He's coming off of a whole bag change. Felt like this was a good place to debut, being a better player. And that is Eagle McMahon in third place, shooting 32 under par, 1 stroke behind Nicholas. Fourth place, young Luke Taylor. You and I talked about him last Tuesday, and we had said, it wouldn't shock us if he did well, and it wouldn't shock us if he just absolutely melted down under the spotlight. Well, he didn't play great under the spotlight, but it wasn't poor, that's for sure. And he played well enough to get himself back into the lead card. So hats off to you, Luke Taylor. And the man who dominates, if anyone won holes 14 basket, it should be him. Luke, if I would have won that from the Macbeth Foundation, I would have donated it to you. True story. Congratulations on some really, really exciting hole 14 play that gave everyone a lot of smiles and cheers. Tied with him was Kelvin Heimberg. Kelvin only shot a 4 down that final round, but he really wasn't. He had to shoot something close to epic in order to get into first place. He would have had to, he was 6 strokes. He had to shoot a 10 down, which wasn't unheard of today, but just wasn't enough to be able to get it done, honestly. So Calvin in 4th place. 6th place, Ricky Wysocki, still just grinding away at these majors, always so close. This one, he was never really, it didn't feel like he was ever in super contention. Like he was never talked about just because Isaac had played so dominant that it was like, oh, Ricky's going to come and get him. There was always kind of this like, well, Ricky could make a run, but it was always that move. It was always that, well, if Ricky can get it going, and he always just had a good round, but never that great round that he really needed to propel himself up to where we could talk about him. 7th place, Simon Lizotte, shooting that great round at 10 under with a bogey, a double bogey, and another bogey in the last 9 holes, and an eagle. So
yeah, he had 3 pars in his last 36 holes at Ivy Hill.
Yeah, talk about a man who plays so well when it feels like the pressure's off. Like he just and we all know, you'll ask him and he'll say, I don't feel like I played any different. But that guy's putter was outrageous at Ivy. It was fun to watch him just smash putts from all distances with his pixel. So shout out to you, Simon, shooting a 10 under par, launching himself up 5 spots into 7th place. Tied with Gannon Burr, who dropped 2 spots, shot a 5 down. Gannon Burr was at 29 under par. He was on our chat board tonight, and the brother of the champion, Ezra Robinson, taking 9th place, shooting an 11 under par that round. So a course record. You had one guy win the Worlds, the other guy shoot the course record.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story in itself.
That's a hell of a family moving on there. So congratulations to Ezra at tied for 9th with Sullivan Tipton. Sullivan, who was on the lead card, I believe, was it the 2nd or 3rd round?
It was for sure. Well, I was going to say we filmed him throwing it in at Ivy Hill. Was that 2nd or no? That was 4th round, wasn't it?
4th round. I thought he was on the lead card earlier in the round. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the other. Maybe it was the other feature card. Maybe it was the chase card.
Math is tough.
But regardless, yeah. So is memory. Congratulations to Sullivan Tipton, who takes a top 10 at Worlds. It's a phenomenal accomplishment for all the players who are up there because this, as we said, the competition is fierce. Yeah,
and Edwin Stats, who I had the pleasure of meeting briefly this last week.
Hey, Edwin.
He has chimed in with a few nuggets that I'll share with the world as well. We appreciate the additional insight. I shouldn't have given you credit. I could have sounded smarter myself. Nobody would have believed it.
I would have busted you out.
Yeah. No, Edwin says, the Robinson brothers have both finished in the top 10 for 3 consecutive weeks now, which is pretty cool if you think about that. And then also said out here, if Antela gets 2nd place at the European Open next year, he will have the lifetime runner-up Grand Slam, which in itself is a wild perspective to think that he was right there for all of those events. You've seen other people, come close at various events. You think of I think of a Josh Yanthon who finished runner-up at Worlds for 3 or 4 straight years.
3 years in a row, I believe.
I think it was 4.
Was it 4? I thought it was 3.
At least 3. 3 or 4. And, that's Worlds in particular. But then to think, Huntela having the Grand Slam of I don't know what you would call that, like the mini slam?
No.
The Denny slam?
The Denny slam.
The Denny slam.
We'll call it the Denny slam.
Whatever it might be. So
Actually, we might have to rename it to the Antala slam.
yeah, exactly. So a couple of cool things. And then as he or someone else also said, Ganon's off week is finishing for tied at 7th at Worlds. That's just the pressure. That's the expectations that we've all come to expect of Ganon Burr at this point, that, his off week is a top 10 at Worlds, a 7th, that so many people would die for that positioning. And that's Ganon not having a good week. So it does tell you of the ceiling in which he may or may not even have. Pretty crazy. Were there any, especially if you scroll down, any massive surprises on the week?
No, but some other names that we can talk about. Paul Macbeth shooting 4 down the final round, getting to 16th place. He dropped a single spot. Joey Buckets, who was on our lead card and very much in the conversation for for
a few days.
For quite a bit of this tournament. I don't know if it's the pressure, just the play. That final day, he didn't get any birdies in the back. He got 1 birdie in the back 9 on hole 10 and then kind of went really cold. Otherwise, he probably would have been up there in the top 10 as well. You hate to say he played like he should have been, but most of the week he did. And then he, 1 or 2 bad rounds at Worlds will do it for you. Kevin Jones having a good resurgence at the end of the season. That's a good story as well. I think.
And Kevin, coincidentally, right next to Vino Macula, both of those guys obviously moving the sponsorship from Prodigy over to Innova recently, and it feels like they're both, and this could be nothing more than happenstance and coincidence, but they're both playing. I don't think the plastic's the difference. I won't give either one of those that credit, either company that credit or discredit. I just think they just happen to both be playing well now, a little bit better than what they were doing earlier in the game.
Sometimes just changing things up. It has nothing to do with the plastic.
Exactly.
I mean, just changing things up can really adjust your perspective.
As they finish just 1 stroke apart from each other.
Yep. Other than that, looking at some of the people, former world champion Greg Barsby in 33rd. I did see a post about Nico.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, Nico LaCastro cashing.
Yeah.
For what, the 15th? No, what was it? 20th?
The 17th year in a row.
17th straight Worlds he's cashed in. I mean, put that in perspective.
Damn.
17. You talked about how many Worlds you've been to. That dude is cashed in 17 straight Worlds. And what an accomplishment in general. I know we've talked in the past about cash streaks with Sexton and things like that, but to cash at the Worlds, at the pinnacle of our sport, the toughest competition, 17 straight years. That is a run that is it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I echoed that. I sent him a private message and I publicly posted just how damn impressive that is, that he's out there grinding and pulling the way that he has been. So impressive. So.
And we're going to give a huge big hug out to Dennis Augustison and Tristan Tanner. Cash line, they made the cut, but missed the cash.
Yeah,
that is unfortunate. Because of ties getting into the into the final round, but then of course when there's a tie, we've seen somebody just doesn't get it done, and that was those two. So they got to play the extra round at Ivy Hill, but they didn't get to cash because of it. Yeah,
sneaking in that bottom cash spots. You see Coling and Double G. Dan Hastings, Paul Oman, who's master's age. Congrats to him and everyone else that managed to make cash. A quick shout out. I was on one of my flights home with Dallas Garber, who finished just outside of it. Of course, that feels you'd rather miss the cash by 5 than by 1 or 2. Well, it feels like sometimes
he didn't miss the cash. He missed the cut.
Yeah, but either way. Met Dallas, super young player, but him and his mom. And,
I'd rather miss it by 2 than 1. I'll tell you that.
We're on the plane out of Richmond on Monday and got to chat with them just for a minute. Carter Aarons, who made a sponsorship announcement just before the weekend began, actually saying that he is leaving Lone Star.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, on his own accord. And coming up short, Scott Stokely,
who was leading the B pool for a
Yep.
while. Actually, I think he made it into the A pool and fell out. Wasn't able to make the cut, but Scott didn't make the cut. A couple other names, notable names that just missed the cut. Parker Welk, last year's DDO champion. Corey Ellis, your European Open winner from last year. Albert Thomas Gilbert. Those are some of the players that unfortunately, Drew Gibson missing the cut. There's just a few players that just didn't have the greatest of weekends. I'm looking for his name. I thought I saw him. Someone who had said that. Oh, Chris Clemens did make the cut. Okay, awesome. I know he was talking about how these courses in general did not seem to favor a lefty.
Yeah, specifically holes 1 in 18 he liked
Yeah,
out at Ivy Hill.
Well, he said those did favor a lefty.
Yes,
the rest of
he
them
liked
didn't.
those, yes.
And sometimes I kind of look at that and go like, well, whatever. There are times, like, there are certain courses that just will not favor certain people. And so shout out to Chris for being able to fight through it and still get cash. Because it can, I'm sure, absolutely suck when you walk up to the World Championships and you play these courses and you think,
you feel deflated.
Yeah, you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm shooting for, 20th or 10th if I'm lucky, just because you don't have the ability that the same, I don't say the same ability, but the same opportunity that some of these other players maybe have with throwing right-handed on these particular courses. So
I'll just quickly address the username, at least looks like Yanni Mili. Says, got to change that, rework the money for the last few places, make the cut, get paid.
I'm with you. I feel I said the same thing.
I like the concept. However, it's just very difficult 100% due to the ties, right? Unless another option is you make the rule so that it can only be X amount, including tie or without the ties, or sort of like if the cut is 84 places, right? That was the cut going into to get into Saturday. It was 84 places plus ties. If you have 6 people tied at 82nd, in theory, they all make it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you make the hard cut, no matter how far up you have to go, down to.
That's one option.
And it's less advantageous than what everyone else will suggest. I get that. I'm just saying.
We've talked about this before. My suggestion: you take whatever that bottom cash is, and you split it as many ways as you let people in. So if that bottom cash is $200 and 5 people make it in, guess what? The bottom 4 spots all get, or 5 spots all get $40.
No matter what.
Like that,
even if you slipped into one of those bottom spots,
even if you slipped in, even if you went in,
you shot 100 strokes worse than everyone else during the cut line.
100%. I think it gives you, it can give you a reason to fight, or it gives you a reason to give up. Honestly, too. I mean, you can go either way with it. That's my personal take. If you're going to allow these people in, pay them out. Just everybody knows going into it. Guess what? If you're the bottom cash, no matter how you get there, we're splitting it. I don't care who it is. I don't care if the last 5 people are 50 strokes apart. Somehow, if that would never happen, obviously. But if you did, if that last guy decided he's not even going to show up,
but what spots are splitting it?
Just whatever whatever that last cash spot is. Whatever that last cash.
Okay, so if it was 84th and let's just say 88 people made it, you're taking 84th that was going to be $200,
and you split it 5 or 4 ways. How many other people?
Regardless of where they finish score-wise.
Regardless of where they finish score-wise. Just I do feel, and we've talked about this. I feel like if you make the cut, get paid. That is kind of the PDG, almost the PDGA rule. It's a saying, but they say we're going to cut at the cash line. When you say we're cutting at the cash line, that's the cash line. That's the line where you cash, not the line where you play again.
Well, it's not, though, because they're cutting at 84 plus ties.
I understand that.
The cash line is 84th, but they're letting in 84 plus ties. So there's some renaming has to happen somewhere.
I agree. I would prefer that if you have to play that last round, you're playing for something, regardless of what you're doing. That's just my take. Obviously, it's different. Everybody, I honestly don't mind your idea either. Cut all the ties, which would really suck.
It could,
because you think about if
you
you're
could
on
finish in 72nd, a tie for 72nd with 22 people. Mm-hmm. So instead of them actually taking 94, you're taking only 71 when it was going to be 84. Like,
if I'm on that bottom cash line, I might be sitting at that 18th green, like jinxing people, like jackass, like trying to make sure that they don't get in, so I don't get cut. It's just it's so weird to think that because somebody else played well, you get played as well as you get cut. Like, I understand if someone plays better than you, but God, that guy played just as well as me, and now I get punished. It's just weird, but I understand.
Should have shot one stroke better than him.
I agree.
That's the logic.
I'm not disagreeing, Terry. But,
but nonetheless,
I would love to see some sort of change. I'm with you. We've talked about this
and this
before.
is coming from a guy. Let me be very clear. I'm also a guy. I played in a flex start over July 4th weekend. I didn't work Des Moines, so there was a flex start event down in Illinois. It was a $5 entry, with all $5 going right to the organization or the club or whatever it was, to the fundraiser or whatever it was. I won the event. I shot the hottest score in the MP40 division, coincidentally even better than the MPO division. And I took first place, and there's a 0 next to my name, and it hurts. What I wouldn't give just to have that read $5.
Really? Okay.
So I effectively I'm agreeing with what you're saying is there's kind of a principle there in a sense of like just purely
that's a charity event.
No, but I'm just saying purely just from like an egotistical perspective, it feels weird to any cash in your cash line just to say you cashed to something, and then here's an event which I'm totally good with the way it was run. Let me be very clear. But even if that said $1, it would make me feel better because it right now it shows like I didn't cash at that event when coincidentally I won it of all things. Yeah. But it shows that I didn't even cash at that event.
But you didn't.
And that wasn't I didn't. I know. I'm not saying I did.
Terry.
I am absolutely saying that I didn't. So I understand what you're getting at in terms of it feels weird to have someone make the cut, so to speak, in this case, but then ultimately be able to walk away with nothing. I do understand that logic. I'm a reasonable human. I want some of these Vessi shoes.
I was just telling my wife how I need a pair of white shoes.
I bought a pair of Vans over the weekend because I needed a new pair of shoes, but now I'm thinking I'm on the site.
Those Vessis kind of look like old Vans.
I'm gonna have to hit up the champ for his code.
It's on his Instagram, I think he said. So you don't even have to hit him up.
I think I need a pair.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, because I've got black shoes, which I use for like going outside and doing outside work of my yard and things. But I've got gray shoes and I've got brown shoes. I do not have a pair of white shoes, and I feel like
now's the time.
All the hip kids are wearing white shoes. That's like the trendy thing to do. So
gotta keep them clean, bro.
Whose
shoes does Isaac wear? Vessi, Vessi. It's also on the back of his jersey. Yeah, Earl, I see how insightful you are, and I definitely just had to get this win mentioned from almost 2 months ago. I was just working the whole conversation around to be able to make sure.
It took you 2 months.
To build up on World
this.
Champ Night for me to make sure that I got my 982 rated win.
Damn!
Reference.
Look at you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
just
13 under. Where you at, Earl?
Just drop that on me,
jackass. So no, I'm not concerned about what you think whatsoever. Anyway, the week by and large sounded successful. It also had some criticism and hiccups. I don't think we're ever going to have an event that doesn't, though.
I guarantee you, if you have the inside scoop on a PGA event, I guarantee you there's people that are like, oh, like this just didn't go well, or how come this lunch wasn't prepared? Like the lunch was gone for me when I showed up or something. I guarantee you there's no event that goes 100% smooth. The criticisms I saw of this particular event, we're going to leave course out of it because there's always course criticisms. There was some streaming issues, obviously, for people, but we kind of knew there was going to be something going in. We were all hoping for the best. I would say there's a few reasons why the free day was the second day of
Yeah.
Partially so they could highlight Ivy Hill, who was a big sponsor, as Jeff had said, but also maybe to cover up a little bit of the cellular issues that they were going to have. They knew they were probably going to have on day one. New London, great course. As we know, we're going to lose half of it, but it'll get reconfigured. But it cannot be covered extremely well. Hopefully, these concerns can get mitigated in the next year or two with a cell tower and the new course design and whatever that entails. But that was one of the issues that was very prominent, clearly online. I honestly didn't see too much other than that of people of things that were unavoidable. I will say, again, everyone's going to complain about some part of the course. Some people didn't like some of the holes at Ivy Hill. Some people didn't like some of the holes at New London. Like I saw some people that just didn't like one or two of the holes at New London as well. And
yeah,
I kind of just brush off most of those concerns when it comes to courses. I brush off because we're not playing them. We don't see them. I tend to defend a lot of different holes and a lot of different styles because I want to see variety. I understand that some people just don't like things, or
yeah. I mean, there were some other downsides that come with New London, which was the crowd was tougher to control out there.
Yeah, it's
just due to the way the fairways are shaped and the way that it plays in that sense. I did hear some concerns of that. That's we continue to have this seesaw of we want courses that can be seen. We want them that are good for live coverage. We want them that are just filmable in general, whether it's live or post-production. And we also want a spectator experience, whether that's at home, at live, or that's in person.
And we only want wooded courses because that's how true disc golf is played, is what I heard.
Exactly. So let's just keep going to wooded courses that have 100 other problems associated with them, right?
Yes.
That's brilliant. I mean, and I'm not advocating for exclusively any one style, of course, or anything of that scenario. Of course not. However, this is your perfect case in point of a course that seemed to be enjoyed more so by the players was the New London course. Fans, spectators, well, not all fans and spectators. Some fans and spectators preferred the golf that's played. The golfers prefer that golf that's played. It came with its own separate set of challenges. And that is, by and large, what we're constantly juggling. Like, name out almost every wooded course, and you have those challenges, some of those challenges, and then you go out into the open course, and you have different challenges. It's a little less exciting. There's not as many lines to hit. It can be perceived as a little bit more boring and open. However, the fan and spectator experience on site could be better, and probably the live coverage can be better. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There is no silver bullet here that fixes all of those problems. There's just not right now, not in our world with our finances.
What if, now hear me out.
Okay, this should be genius.
What if we just got a satellite truck, right?
Yes!
That solves every
Holy
problem.
shit, I never thought of that. Oh my God.
I'm just saying, Terry, I've heard that. I've seen
Satellite?
it. Everyone says it. That must be
Like
right.
a satellite, like that Elon is working? Like an Elon Musk?
No, like the kind my grandparents had in their like those giant satellites, like 8 to 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm thinking. Like the kind of
That will do it.
yeah. I first saw on like Nickelodeon.
I wish you would have said this 10 years ago, when Smashbox started.
Oh, if only we had it. If only we had it. So,
one of the, I think, and somebody brought it up earlier, I don't know all the details with regards to the vending opportunities, but one thing that was, I learned of late in the week was that there was kind of an additional fly mart that was taking place that OTB and some others organized with a local brewery.
that's cool. That's a fun idea.
And I know a lot of people went over there to do some vending. I'm unsure of the exact turnout. I regrettably did not get over there and realize what was going on. I think that's always going to continue to be a conversation piece too of we finally saw it at USDGC after many, many years of seeing a more diverse allowance of vendors in that it wasn't that many years ago that Discraft was vending at the USDGC, and old heads like us were like, huh?
What? That's
like,
weird.
that's happening?
Yeah.
Like, for a while, that idea was crazy, and now we're seeing some overall development and collaboration, inclusion, whatever you want to call it, all of those things. I feel like we're trending in that direction. And there's been plenty of reasons, some valid, some maybe not, as to why it hasn't happened more in the past. But I think that's another conversation piece moving forward that can make for an overall better experience, certainly. I mean, I was at one point, I was in the pro shop. Oh, we should have asked him about this. I was in the pro shop, one of the pro shops, specifically the World's Pro Shop, and I overheard a gentleman saying, "Oh, I think this is all only Discraft. Oh, I wonder if I could go get some stuff that's not." Meanwhile, there's 20 other vendors out there selling all the different name brands, and so he had that option. Now, could he have found World's merch? Maybe or maybe not.
Yeah, it depends.
But
there's different.
probably not in this case. But there were other opportunities for other vendors at that point.
I just spitting things out.
Don't say satellite truck again. You've used up your one good idea this year.
No, there's clearly a World's logo provided by the PDGA
or the host club, but go on.
No, I'm saying, well, hear me out. There should be a World's logo done by the PDGA that allows all manufacturers to be used. That's what I think. But I also think it should be
socialist.
It should be licensed.
Sure.
So take my socialism and shove it on capitalist America. So I think I would love to see it. Now, as you know, there's a disc right here in front of us. It has a stamp on it. It looks like it's a World stamp of some sort. I think it's the Canadian Worlds, from what I can tell. I have no problem with the host people having a bunch of stamps of their own, whatever. But I do think it would be nice to have a specific World stamp done by the PDGA that any manufacturer can be put on.
Any manufacturer anywhere of any kind?
Sure, as long as you pay the licensing for it.
What if I'm a small business that specializes in stickers?
Okay.
And I don't want to pay a $100 or $200 or $500 licensing fee.
Well, then you can't use it.
Well, that doesn't seem very inclusive.
Pay the licensing fee.
Isn't that similar? Isn't that kind of sort of similar to?
That would help cover like the costs of creating the logo, and it maybe puts a couple bucks in the PDGA pocket. Although I don't think it's probably.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the end goal.
Yeah, that's not the end goal, because even if let's you say it's a $500 or $1,000 rights to use that particular logo, 20 companies, maybe 30 might do that right now. So you're looking at a couple. It just seems like such a little amount for the PDGA. Now, the PDGA also puts money into the event and this and that. There's all sorts of things that it could help cover some costs. But I just think that it would, for fairness reasons, that particular logo could be put on any manufacturer's disc with the licensing fee. And that's or not even a disc, a logo, a T-shirt, a bandana, a
sticker,
pair of underwear,
pair of boxer briefs.
Sure, my thong. Thong. Me and Cisco.
Yes. You have a better chance of affording it than Cisco probably.
That's a good point. But I would love to see something like that, because we are getting into this new era.
Hats,
bringing it back.
Sure.
I was thinking about what I was talking about earlier. We were talking about eras.
Okay, Taylor.
Of these, I don't want to say that they are like a kumbaya, but as you said, Discraft at USDGC. I'd love to see Innova at AmNats. Like any PDGA major should be open to every manufacturer that wants to vend. That's just period, no matter what. like if you want to pay the vending.
As someone who doesn't run events, that's big of you to say.
These are PDGA majors.
I hear you.
And again, I'm also the guy that says I want the PDGA to own every major. I think they should own and control every aspect of a major, and they can divvy that out however they want. We're going to work with the host people that they're going to take these responsibilities, but it should all be done. I want to see our biggest events that draw in the people to be able to be used by the entire disc golf community now. We're big enough where I think something like that should happen. I'm not talking every event. Elite Series, that's a disc golf pro tour thing. Let them deal with that. PDGA, step away. But our majors, PDGA majors, these should all now be open to everybody.
I think they could be. I think then the different way of them being open, as you're saying, but yet not open, is by what that licensing fee is.
Agreed.
Like that's where you could just change the gatekeeping from, and I use the term gatekeeping loosely here, but that's where you just change the barrier from one place to another.
Maybe.
And say, yeah, everybody could do it. But as I just said, obviously a manufacturer, Innova, whomever, paying a $500 licensing fee to potentially use it on disc versus Joe's sticker company or Jim Bob's, dry birdie sack bags. Like those are two very different entities. Maybe there's a sliding scale, maybe there's a whatever, maybe it's a per item, whatever. There's a lot of different ways I know you could go at that licensing, but at some point you're really just shifting the barrier from here to there, and someone then could argue that barrier is not right.
Of course, there's always been. I just want to see the opportunity for anybody. Here's what I'll say. You can look another way. The host, whoever's hosting the events, shouldn't be able to keep out specific people. But I mean, because there are, as we know, there are conflicts of interest. There always will be. We're too small for there not to be, and I don't expect there to not be. I don't fault anybody for having these conflicts of interest. I want to see a slightly more open opportunity. Again, you could say that, the licensing fee for that logo is $20,000, and there's 3 people that can afford it now. You've got, cool, guess what? Innova Discraft and
shifting the barrier
and House of Disc,
or putting it at a place that is truly not practical or appeasing to anyone.
I get it, and that is something that we, as a sport and as a community-led sport, the way we are, I would like to see maybe. I don't even know if I'd call them changes, because I don't exactly know what is going on right now with some of these events behind the scenes, because I'm not involved, but these are just some of the things that I'm seeing from the outside. So maybe someone will message me and tell me I'm completely wrong and give me 1,000 reasons why, and I'm okay with that.
Stick around to the after show.
Terry will tell me about why I'm wrong.
All right. Reading some info off the board. I do not have enough info to fully take this conversation to another level, and I'm not sure I don't know who does, but we clearly saw this push by the quote unquote Save New London course. We saw that. I saw it. Who happens to be on our board, hence I'm going to say it. Custom Course Maps, who provides a lot of great insight and information, kind of behind the scenes to a few of us. Sent a message essentially saying, hey, this was built on property that could have been developed for many years or has been zoned to do as much. And what may or may not feel like a plea publicly by Paul and then a lot of the fans may all fall on deaf ears, knowing that this has been a possibility forever and it's just now coming to fruition. Does it suck now?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nobody that's denying that. I don't know that a plea of sorts is necessarily going to change.
I don't know
an economic state-based or county-based economic grant of a few $1 million. I don't know that that's going to be enough to push any buttons or move any. The
narrator says, no, it's not. I don't know how true this is. Kind of like the Isaac Robinson posts, where we found out that that is him kind of giving some trolls. Someone had clipped a post of this Save New London, and there was something that says, hey, I'm the developer. We're not going anywhere.
Oh. I don't know if there's truth to that, but I would believe it too.
Exactly. So I don't know
It's a small community.
I don't know how true that is,
Sure.
but if that is true and the developers basically says, no, we're taking this, we're going to, and to be fair, they're going to make way more for that. The city is make way more for that in the long run than they will for a disc golf course being put on that property. But I'm happy that at least the city is looking at other options. Hey, we're going to open up this other land for you that we didn't have available to you before. So maybe we'll even find out that we can make a better course or more options, different holes. Like this might be a blessing in disguise. It might not be. It might be miserable.
Sure.
This back area of woods might be atrocious for disc golf. It might just not work out. I don't know. And I'm hoping whoever the locals are will be able to work something out. It does suck for the community because the minute, this course has been on the ground for a few years, and the minute it gets the first chance of notoriety, it's like, hey, awesome, you're bringing worlds
That's
here.
cool.
And that's cool. And it gets cut. We'll see.
What I worry about happening, and again, I don't know every detail, and I'm not going to claim as much, so I don't want to take any too bold of statements, but what I do worry about happening is the potential that there was something to do with timing, and as this gets developed, or as this maybe even gets cleared or whatever, something may not get put there for years, maybe even decades. And it had something to do with some kind of deadline or timing. So how much more of a gut punch is that if this gets cleared, but then sits empty for 2 or 5 or 10 years before something actually happens on it, that's going to make it feel any worse. Again, those are all decisions that are clearly, literally and figuratively above our pay grade in terms of how it all goes down. But Paul just seemed very disinterested in looking at more land, even if granted to him.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, you don't blame him. Knowing that this is what he put his heart and soul into in terms of developing it. Obviously, it's a highly revered course.
Yeah, it's very well received by pros, and
so,
like it's going to hurt.
Yes.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt Paul more than anybody. It's going to hurt the locals then, and the rest of us are going to be like, yeah, like I kind of feel that way. Maybe I have less of a heart than other people. I feel that way about Yarva. Right? The one that's getting torn up?
Yeah, somebody's...
Yeah,
I have to get out of your basement before somebody sends a bomb here.
I get it. Like, it's a phenomenal course.
I'm out.
And the locals love it, and it's highly regarded. But I look at it like, I'm sorry, we're not Big Cheese. We cannot.
Unfortunately, yes.
I would love it if we could save it. It would be phenomenal. I signed the petitions to save Yarva. I did, because I would love that. But I'm also realistic in saying this probably means jack to most people when they look at the grand scheme of things. Like, oh, cool, we get this disc golf thing, which, all right, it's this disc golf thing. It brings in how much money? Almost zero. It makes a lot of people happy, but that doesn't add to our tax base like this does. I take a more realistic approach to it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that, again, maybe that's my cold, dead heart. It's just the way it is. And that's how I feel. Like we do our best. I have zero actual I have zero best way to put this. Expectations. I'll just leave it at that. I have zero expectations that anything is actually going to move forward.
Yeah.
But try, man. Try your hardest. You can't. If you don't try, you've already failed.
Right. Wait.
Something like that.
That sounds like something you have above your...
That's a poster I have somewhere.
In your workout gym.
Yeah, my workout gym. Yeah, that's right. And weirdly, it's just got like a cat hanging there out of a tree. So I don't know why it's the cat, but it is.
It's there. All right. Is there anything else in the... I'm sure there is. I feel like I'm forgetting a ton of things, but I feel like that's enough for our regular show where we can wrap things up. Holy cow, it's already been 2 hours. So why don't we wrap things up? To tease you out.
Ooh.
To tease you out. I'm not going to say it's the... Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, no, it is. There's no probably about this. This is one of the first ever co-signed 2024 world champion discs signed. And I say that because I had Evelina sign it before I think she signed any other autographs. Right after she was done in our interview in the booth.
How many discs did you ever sign there?
I had her sign a handful. And then when Isaac sat down in the booth and was done doing his post-round interview, his long form with Doss and I immediately, before he even got up, I had him sign all those same discs. So
there's a good chance
that this could be the first one ever
that this
signed by both.
Yeah, that this is, I mean, there are other ones out there, but this is probably the first one.
Wow.
Where's my certificate of authentication?
Let me... I just licked it.
That's good enough for me. I don't want it.
Yep. There you go. Is this a, yeah, it's a Scorch. That's what I thought. All right. So one of the authorized branded stamps, they had a whole bunch. That kind of started the conversation with Johnny and I before the show.
I was looking
but
at
anyway,
that. Yeah.
One of the authorized
the Canadian
branded
World Championships
here with both Evelina and with Isaac Robinson. He wrote 2-time on here, and that was an interesting conversation with him and Nate Doss. Nate was talking about, what to write on his when he was signing them. And I think he said, Nate Doss said he saved and only put 2-time that day. So if there's an autographed disc from him that says 2-time as in world champ, he was saying those were people that were there at Worlds. This got signed at Worlds.
For the 2-time or the 3-time? Or just
one of the two. I don't remember, honestly. But it was an interesting distinction that he said he intentionally reserved.
Interesting.
Knowing that would be at that time, whichever it was. So I thought that was kind of cool. But Evelina signing it 1X, and Isaac, of course. Fun fact about Isaac Robinson, writes left-handed.
Throws righty.
So does Kyle Klein. So do a bunch of other weirdos.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think, that forfeits him from the championships. I'm sorry. I think there's PDJ rules. You can't do that.
So anyway, we're going to give this away. Do you believe that?
Yeah, tonight we're giving that away. That's going to be...
Seriously. Yep. Giving this away.
Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. We're giving this away tonight to some lucky winner. So if you are a Patreon supporter, I'm going to give... If you want to sign up for Patreon, I'm going to give you about 5 more minutes before I pull those names. You have 5 minutes to sign up for Patreon. If you want this disc, and I'm not going to say how else, but those of you that are in the know and know how else to get added to the list.
That's cool if you throw it, Tim. I don't care what you do with it, but you can go join right now. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. If you sign up at any level, it makes you automatically eligible to win, and Johnny will pull the names a little bit later.
I'll download
anybody
the
that gets on it
names
tonight will be eligible. So pretty cool. Big thanks to, of course, both of them for graciously allowing our smashes.
Our interview tonight with Evelina was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. We should play that again in the after show.
No, we're not. You have to watch. You have to go. Got to go back.
All right, guys. We're gonna call it in the regular show. I just teased you out. We've got this to give away in the after show. Plus, we got other conversations to be had.
Yeah.
My face never looked so good.
I know.
Thank you to Evelina Solon for joining us. Thank you to Isaac Robinson. Congrats to them. Congrats to everyone that had any part of the successful Worlds that it was in any capacity. We appreciate you guys for coming along for the crazy journey that it was. For Johnny V and Isaac Robinson, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We're going to take a quick break here, and then when we come back, we'll have the after show. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smash Box.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 521's
After Show.
Hola.
Good to be here. Not too hot in the basement. It's a little
Are
warm.
you kidding?
Yeah.
You're not hot? I mean, I know I'm overweight. This isn't a secret to me.
Yeah.
Some of you think you're like telling me that and like
No.
you're hurting my feelings. You're telling me something I don't know.
Down here.
It is freaking toasty in here.
I'm wearing pants.
It's hot.
Like, I'm not saying it's cool down here because with this, when we close the curtain behind us, Terry and I in this little
It's
smaller
frickin'
area, it tends to warm up a little bit.
I am sweaty. Yeah, not loving it.
Oh, I'm
We're here for the
okay.
Yeah, good. I'll invest in my own fan. Please support us via Patreon so I can get a fan, so that I do not have to roast in here. Welcome in, everyone. Post Worlds, of course, and as crazy as it sounds, just quickly, I'm 11 hours away from going to Mexico. What are you doing in Mexico, Terry? I don't know.
What are you going to try to smuggle in and out?
Some Worlds merch. I hear it's on discount.
Nice.
The stuff that said "Congrats, Cannon Burr" was put on discount.
That's what you're doing. You're muling the congratulations Ganon Bird stuff to Mexico. Some small village is going to be super excited,
and they're going to be like, "No, this stuff is it's too tall for us. It's too long. These shirts are too long." Yes, I am super excited. Working with Fabian and a number of other individuals. Kokioke is I believe the city. I'm probably butchering the name. I apologize. Is the city and the area that I'll be. And we got 120 people signed up for this event. I was going to just double check. I don't like Johnny. First of all, second languages were very much an afterthought in our school district, as per most of the U.S., but especially in ours. They were available, and you could take them, but they weren't heavily pushed. You had to take 1 year of it, and then you could check out.
Foreign language?
Foreign languages.
Yes.
As opposed to most other countries or plenty of other developed countries who are like, oh yeah, you've learned 3 languages and been introduced to, you're speaking 3 languages by the time you're like 9. Anyway, I was lazy and wasn't about to take any more than I had to.
So you took what, 2 years?
So I took 1 year, 1 year of French.
I had 2.5.
When it seems like Spanish was just a billion times more popular.
So many people
it's like
took
the
Spanish.
default. It was the default. That's a better way to put it. It was just the default. I never took any of it. And by the way, I don't quiz me on my French either. But here I go. Yeah, here I go. Excited to go to Mexico, but I've never been in any capacity. And I tell this story often because people are shocked that I've never been to Mexico. And I always say the same exact thing, which is when you and I were on, say, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year of spring break in college, when it wasn't legal to drink,
people were going to Cozumel.
Everybody went to Mexico to party.
Yep.
During spring break. Everybody. And Yorkie old Johnny V and I hopped in the car, grabbed the spiral-bound disc golf course directory, and we played as many Frisbee golf courses as we could possibly find.
Awesome. We could play 17 to 19 courses.
Using Rand McNally and the course directory.
Yeah.
So...
can I go back and change that? Is it too late?
Look where that got us. Here we are, still talking about stupid disc golf courses. That was it. Like, to be fair, I guess plenty of people go there at other ages, but that was the popular thing that so many people did, especially during college, at least from Milwaukee, was to go there. And we didn't do that. We went and played disc golf courses in Alabama. That's when we went to Mobile, Alabama, and met met his dad, and met the Sherrod family or the Sherrod family, met Buddy Paquette and Brad Hammock and those legends, Cam Todd and Leslie Herndon, and all of those people at the time in the late 90s. And then we would go over to North Carolina and we'd see Ryan Schweberger and Billy Crump and all of those gentlemen, Alan Beaver. And then we were in Kentucky for a couple of the years during part of the swing and played with Dave Greenwell, We were also in Florida and stayed with Ken Climo and some other people down in Clearwater. That's what we were doing on spring break in the late 90s. Well, everybody else was running off to participate in fun in Mexico. So
we had our own fun.
We did. I wouldn't change it for the world. Those were all. It's so crazy. Those were truly formative disc golf adventures that then set us up for the next 25 years of doing it.
And it's unfortunate that there's no place to find this, but we literally had one of the first traveling disc golf blogs.
Yeah.
We started a blog on Blogspot. It was before Google bought it. And we did
post updates.
Yeah, we posted updates to our blog for like the 6 people that probably cared about it at the time, all of which were friends up here in the Midwest that were other golfers. Like, yeah, that was in the late 90s, early 2000s we did that.
Yeah.
Like, it was just amazing.
Yeah, that was before Facebook. You couldn't just post there and 10 or 20 or 1,000 people would keep up. You literally had to direct them to the website to go see it. So those were all those days, which is a long-winded story as to why I personally have never been to Mexico. And now I'm super excited to check out their scene. We've seen GK Pro go down there for a number of things, especially during like the month of January, I think, for the last couple of years. Months I'm usually over now been in Thailand. So it's worked out really well to go. Like I said, super excited to check it out. I'll be flying into Mexico City. I believe Doug and Noemi Bjerkis are going to be there as well. I'll be able to spend some time with them. I think they're on full-blown vacation mode.
Good for them. Doug deserves it.
And super excited. And then it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours southwest is where I'll be headed. So for what that's worth, the tournament's going on. I see it's a B tier, the 30th and 31st. I know the schedule is unique in that it's like 2 rounds one day and then 1 round the next, or 1 and 2, depending on which division you're in. There'll be some post-production from it. But more than anything, like so many of my other adventures, I'm just excited to consume it all, to see the growth, to see what they're doing, to see all this progress, knowing that some of these people, from what I've been told already,
don't like you?
Just some of them, I'm sure. The numbers will tell us that some don't like me. That's obvious. That some of these people were introduced due to the Paul Macbeth Foundation putting baskets down there.
That is really cool.
How insane is that? To know that they are that new to the game, the foundation that's not even that old, but they're here because of the Paul Macbeth Foundation doing work down in Mexico. So, yeah, that's, I guess, maybe one of the first things I'm going to look at maybe later is what the average PDGA number is down there, as I'm looking at a bunch of 275, 279, 220, 269. Yeah, like all these very new PDGA members. So looking forward to it. As we heard from Isaac earlier, there's some people that are headed to some other events. Obviously, a few people are just going to be taking off the weekend and kind of making their way to D-Glow.
I'm going up north.
Who did I see that's already at D-Glow practicing?
Oh, it's not
Big
shocking.
Northern Wisconsin tournament, Sandy Point Resort. Thank you. I just wanted to get my win in there from 2006. I took that down, so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
No, but Sandy Point, one of my favorite places on the planet, one of Johnny's favorite places. Huge tournament going on.
Literally, when was the last time you were up there? And
I played Northwoods during COVID in 20 or 21.
Okay, which I don't think I did that year.
You did not.
So I have not been up there in, I believe, 4 or 5 years. I'm excited to get back up there. It's a wooded course that everybody loves. Relative, I'd say medium length course to a short, depending on how it's set up. It's just so much fun. We have a cabin right on the lake, right on the course. There's, I think, 10 to 12 of us all staying in the same cabin. I have no clue what my sleeping arrangement is going to be when I get there, but I leave Thursday morning. It's about a 5-hour drive up there-ish, 5 hours. And we're going to spend Thursday through Sunday, come back Sunday night. And I'm just really excited to actually get out and get to this event, which I've been missing for for five or so years. And it's finally able to get back out on the course these days. It's really exciting. So lots of
I will follow that up with, people often ask, where's my favorite place to play or what's my favorite course in the world? And yes, I've been going there since I was like 14 or 15. And it was one of the first 25 courses in the state in Wisconsin, which now holds over 400. It's the first ever disc golf resort course that was ever installed anywhere in the world. A number of our top players on the planet have been there. And it is on the shorter side by today's standards, but it does hold 27 permanent holes with multiple pins. Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch. You've heard me say it. You see them occasionally on my video, on my post-production with a little transition screen. So sandypt.com. Rare.
Should I get the check when I go up there for this, for this plug?
This is all free because
don't say that. You might actually pay.
That's how highly I have thought of Mike and Michelle Cousins, and people say, where's your favorite place to play? And I feel almost silly saying it just because I've been in 6 or 8 different countries now, continents. 6 or 8 different countries.
You've been in 8 continents. I'd love to see the 8th one.
I got news.
Those flat earthers that are helping you out. See the continent on the other side of the flat earth.
Oh, I
Bend
love my
that
flat
one, Terry.
But in all the countries I've been, there's a lot of home state vibes. But yeah, sandypt.com. Just truly heaven on earth. One of my favorite places on the planet. So I'm a little jelly. Johnny's going up there. And I will admit, when looking at this whole schedule for Mexico, that crossed my mind is like, oh my gosh, am I open? Could I actually go back up to Sandy Point, which I've recently given up playing in the last few years due to coverage. Usually.
Yeah, we haven't been able to cover it.
And I was like, well, if I can't go back up there, my first trip to Mexico seems like a good consolation prize. So have fun. Good luck to everyone. Good luck, Mike, Michelle, and the whole crew up there. I'm
sure it'll be great. I can only imagine it's just as much fun as the last time I was up there.
All right. World's hangover, I don't think is necessarily a thing, and that becomes a conversation. One thing that I feel like people did, it clicked, whether it was immediately as Worlds wrapped up, or if you're just putting it together now. Everyone said Ivy Hill is the more brutal, more hilly, more steep, more punishing version of the toboggan. And this year, we go to the toboggan in a couple of weeks and play 4 rounds out there. I think
they're going to look at it and be like, "Oh, that's not so bad."
I think Emerson Keith specifically at Waffle House. I don't know if he said F that. I don't remember what he said, but he wasn't excited about now just fully putting together. Yeah, now you gear up for 4 rounds at the toboggan, which they're professional athletes and all that, but have fun. Let's just hope that it's not nearly as hot. The toboggan obviously has its own challenges. It's not exactly mountain golf at 10,000 feet or anything. It has its challenges, but you add humidity and heat out there, which hopefully we don't have as much of, in a week or so in September. It can still make for a long weekend out there, and 4 complete rounds. Best of luck.
And for what it's worth, this weekend up at Northwood looks gorgeous.
Good.
I'm so excited. Good. Like high of like 72 or 73, lows of, the low high is like 68 degrees or 66 degrees on Sunday. I am unfathomably excited for the weather in the weekend.
I agree with you. That does sound just about perfect up there. What was I going to just transition into talking about? Just for what it's worth, behind the scenes, but not. I am not involved with the toboggan or the course or the event over at D-Glow. Basically after that, I'm involved with the 3 remaining Pro Tour stops, which means I'm going out to Bend, and we will have the Green Mountain weekend. Following weekend after that will be the MVP. A couple weeks after that is USDGC, but then we go to the Tour Championship. So those 3 weekends of those 3 events that close out the Pro Tour after we play the D-Glow is I'll say standard operating procedure for what me and Nate and Val have been doing for the last few years. We'll be doing all 3 of those events. So just throwing that out there, looking ahead. And yes, I do hope to run a flex start in Oregon at some point as well.
So you can win that and brag here on the,
yes.
on the show as well.
I mean, I don't play in it, but I probably will record it this year. If Doss plays in it, which he's thinking about doing this year to continue to prep for USDGC, if he plays in that Flex Start, there's going to have to be a Flex Start feature card or something.
Flex Start feature. How does that even work?
I don't know.
So I'm sorry. You have to stay here for another hour while we get the Flex card because you are in the Flex card feature card.
Yes.
Flex Start feature card.
That will be happening most likely as well. And another one full circle. This one's much more local. A lot of you have been hearing about the local course or semi-local course to me about an hour south down in the Salem Community Park near the Gray Fox and Silver Fox courses. Working on a few final details. I'd like to host a Flex Start kind of unofficial soft opening event down there in a few weekends as well. It's probably will be D-Glow weekend. And you'll know more about it if I post it here. I know we have a lot of semi-locals that listen to the show. So look for that to have the first official PDG event out there at that brand new course that we've been working on for a while as well. So I'm pretty excited actually to be home, to be local, do some vending, run a little event.
I'm lucky I'll get a chance to play.
You can come play in it.
That'd be fun. Thanks
we
for
can
letting
talk
me.
about you winning it. That's all we're setting up for.
Just setting up for me. I doubt it.
No, I will agree with. I'm going to give Earl.
Yeah,
as much as one of his previous comments wasn't brilliant. This one I agree with completely. The camera operators I feel for. That's more of a hustle than throwing. Huge.
Hey, oh my God, those guys bust.
Out at. Yeah, I mean it's a long week no matter what. It's 5 rounds as opposed to 3 or 4. All of that. You add in the heat and you add in Ivy Hill, nothing but love to all of the camera ops and crews of all the production companies. Couldn't agree more. I that's why I profusely thank them in person. I'll say it here. And I say it to Brian Earhart and Nate Perkins and just all the scorekeepers, all of those people that are out there, especially multiple rounds per day. It is incredible.
Yeah, James Proctor was a moron. I love the guy. I think he's got the greatest heart in the world, and clearly what he did was sacrificed what could have been potentially his quality of his second round for Evelina. Like he's a professional athlete. He should be able to walk this course twice. But that's a lot of walking.
It is.
I give him so much props for getting that round in as a caddy for Evelina, helping her mental game, whatever that was, whether it's just distracting her, talking to her, making her laugh. Like I know there was some backlash from people who are like, oh, don't give don't give Proctor like the props for Evelina winning, and nobody's doing that. But they make a good team, and it seemed to help her. It didn't hurt her. That's certainly like she might have won anyway. I don't know, but having him on the bag, she even said so. She said how nice it was to have him there, and then for him to have to like an hour and a half later hike that course again, and he wasn't carrying his bag this time, thankfully, so that's a little bit easier. But man, that is nothing to shy away from, and so I give him some respect. I give James Proctor. I like the guy. I give him some respect for that.
It's just awesome. Very, very cool. And he wasn't doing it for this reason, but in his back pocket, on his disc golf resume, he can add, being on the bag. And it's not like he did it for this one situation. Clearly, we see him out there often on the bag for a number of players.
It was weird the way he was signing his name, one-time world champ caddy.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but he told me to shut up. And he
doesn't even have the world champ marketing license agreement either.
No.
So he shouldn't be using it.
He shouldn't be using it, but he was doing 1X, and then he would draw a little bag next to it so everyone knew he was a caddy.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to mix it up.
Yeah. All right, Brad. I'm not following what you're at. You're saying, I do welcome anyone that last minute want to come and film it for some YouTube views. Just didn't have it in the budget to pay someone to come. Oh, I think are you talking this weekend at the Urban Golf? And I want to make sure, I should have clarified this with him, with Isaac. If it's the urban golf that's like using all the drone, FPV drone stuff that's going in and out of businesses, or if it's urban golf that's just getting played like around city stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one, either way, I'm all for it, but I'm not sure which one you're referencing.
Yeah, there's people on the board there like he's caddied for her before. I know James Proctor has caddied for a few of the different FPO players in the past, and it's great. But I'm saying on this particular course, because caddying for someone at Maple Hill is different than caddying for someone here or at Glow. It's just the way it works. It's and for a guy who I think was in like ninth place when he did that. If obviously it would be tougher if he was in 30th because he probably would run out of time, but that is definitely an effort. So
okay.
I bought I'm so old. I bought an elbow sleeve. One of those things you put on your elbow for throwing.
Sure. That's not age. That's not age. I bought one of those 5, 6, 8 years ago because my elbow hurt.
My elbow hurts when I throw. I took the kids out this past weekend we went to Dretska. It was a great day. It was a little warm, but whatever. I think it was on Sunday. And I was like, you know what? We got to get out of the house. It's too nice to be in the house. Let's get out for some holes. So went to Dretska. There was this huge Pee-wee football thing going on right in the big open area where we used to have rugby and stuff like that. So there was like I think there was 2 different games going on in that one area. So half that course was kind of taken up by people milling. So I just said, hey, we'll go play the back 9, or we'll go play the extra 9. And so we did that. And afterwards, as it has been happening the last 2 years, my elbow hurt. And I think it's just like a tennis elbow kind of thing. So I got one of those. I literally ordered it yesterday. It came in the mail today. It's one of those. I ordered a special sleeve that like you Velcro right before your elbow. And I also ordered the actual armband if you want to put it on as well. I ordered one of them because I didn't know which one would work better for me because I'm old. And that's what it is. You're old, you're wearing down.
I mean, age isn't helping you.
It comes with
clearly,
age.
But I'll say I don't think it's specific to age.
It's not specific, but it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. So
I mean, Owen doesn't wear an elbow sleeve.
No, Simon does though.
So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But that's I'm going to play my first round ever in like some sort of compression sleeve, some elbow.
Yeah, for me it was just more about getting used to just something being there and it feeling, it's one thing you're worried about if it's going to hurt and if it's going to do the job that you want and all those other things, but just having something there.
To be fair, like it rarely hurts during the round. Like I can go 18 or 27 holes in a row and I barely notice it. But it is later that night and the next day, it hurts. Like I feel it throbbing.
Okay, so that's very different from mine. Whenever my elbow hurts from playing, which is so rare, and you and I obviously don't even play that often, it's from when I try an extra long putt, and then all of a sudden it's like I somehow overextend my elbow or something. That's when, if I have a 75-footer and I'm trying to like jump putt it or whatever, I'm throwing it extra hard. That's the number one time when it hurts me. And then it'll hurt the rest of the day. And it's I don't know what it is specifically about that motion. It's so much more than throwing, but it hurts then, not necessarily.
Mine is not from putting at all.
Interesting.
Mine's from throwing, and I think it's just partially it's poor form, as I know I have. But it is the whip that I think I put on at the end. I snap my arm. I know I do, and I think that's part of what causes it. So I'm hoping this will help out.
So I just got to check in with our friends at Tech Disc or Game Proofer, and they'll fix all your problems.
They won't.
They'll point them out.
They'll point them out, but they won't fix them.
Oh,
they will tell me, hey, here are the things that you're doing poorly. Good luck. Continue them doing them poorly, old man. So
all right. I do have some exciting stuff. I can't share all the details, but I know that we're continuing to dial in for those that are interested in the Southeast Asia leg or trip or visit or tour, whatever you want to call it. Sounds like there's some new developments there. As that becomes finalized, we'll continue to get you the dates. But generally speaking, late January into early February is still a good time to have set aside if you're talking about trying out 1 or 2 or 3 different countries over there in Southeast Asia. But I did have a conversation in the last few days about some stuff developing over there that's going to create for some new excitement. So it's worth sharing that. 2025 is very much in the conversation and in the works. Obviously, we saw the schedule and the season passes and all that release, but A tiers of multiple varieties have reached out and had conversations with me. Good. As people are starting to, jockey for position and submit to the PDGA and find out where the A tier schedule will start to fall into place as well. So that's already pretty exciting to start thinking about in some capacity. And hopefully we'll, just like the elite schedule, hopefully more of those events can get solidified as early as possible as we start heading into the latter part of 2024.
John, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll say John Doe on our board asks, with the Olympics headed to LA in 2028, should we see a big push for disc golf added as an Olympic sport? Should we see one? Sure. Will we see one? Probably not. We need to figure out how next year's World Games goes, right? That's next year.
Is it? That I don't know.
I think it's next year.
Sure.
Maybe it's even the year after. But we need to see how that goes. But maybe it could be one of those experimental sports. Like,
an exhibition.
Like an exhibition one. Wasn't that what breakdancing was this year? I don't know. I don't know if that was an actual official sport or if that was more one of their trial exhibition sports. So, as an exhibition event, it could be cool. It'd be a lot of fun. Go down to Silmar, go play some disc golf.
Yeah.
Do I think we'll see it? No. But would it be fun to have that push? Of course.
Fair enough. I after my saga last week.
Which saga? Remind me real quick. Brief me.
The emergency room one.
Oh yes, your emergency room saga.
No new developments. Things are definitely going much better with my leg. Again, thank you to anyone that's reached out. It was really since I started taking the steroids. That particular
you do look a little
night.
Bulkier. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Ever since then,
like you've been working out.
I haven't had any issues, and on the mend overall. My leg is not as gross as it was by any means, so that's a good thing.
The world is glad.
I have been dealing. I've talked to some people at a few of the various companies that I had to deal with, including Enterprise. They seem to they want to make things right for the way that things were handled that night.
They were okay with your leg as well.
Yeah, they were okay with it. Had a number of challenges that all came as a result of that ordeal. But when it was all said and done, turned out to be things are on the mend and looking better. Also on the mend, it sounds like Kona Panis,
yes.
who had Kona Montgomery had some struggles. I saw her dad on, she was left the course on Saturday, and then made it through, out of the ER, urgent care, and all of that. Came back, was playing on Sunday, was ready to play on Sunday, and then there too left the course or had to leave the course.
She
finished Saturday.
Yeah. Now she had some sort of pressure she felt, and she thought maybe it was something to do with her rib, but it turns out she had, I believe it's on her Instagram story, some sort of fluid or bile, sludge. That's right. It was sludge.
Sludge is the word.
That was backed up, and she doesn't exactly know how, at least at the time, didn't exactly know how it was going to be dealt with yet. Yeah.
When I saw her dad on Sunday night, I, of course, well wishes to her, and then just said, do you know any more? And this was a few hours after, and he's like, no. He's like, yeah, the word is sludge.
Yeah, that's such a
which
weird.
Just feels like
it's not a
weird
medical
word.
It doesn't feel like a medical word. Like, oh, you have a sludge backup. Like, I'm gonna go get a second opinion.
Yeah. So we wish her the best. And I said, is there a known way this progresses or prognosis or whatever that gets dealt with? And he's like, no, there's a lot of uncertainties here in terms of what happens next. So, of course, wish her the best. I think she posted today that it's a weekend off for her, understandably. Colton might be playing in something, but I think she's taking a weekend off. And obviously, understandable.
I might be in the minority here, but hopefully hopefully we get a lot of detail. I want to know how they get rid of the sludge.
Yeah.
Like, does that have to be an operation? Is that like it just passes at some point?
Does
It
it clean
dissipates.
out?
It cleans itself out. Like, I'm obviously Kona should do whatever she feels comfortable with, but I kind of want to know all the details now. Like, it's just such a weird.
I mean, we get a sludge update.
I want a sludge update.
Sludge something or other. So, and we can all say this because we know she's feeling better and doing well now. Big loss. Melody Bailey, unfortunately, lost her battle with cancer. She had a brain tumor, which is just devastating. She had gone through multiple scenarios of seeming like it was in remission or it was gone or was not growing. And then it came back and just battled back and forth with that. She passed away on Saturday, I believe it was. We saw a lot of the posts on Saturday. I knew Melody. I don't know if you met her baby once or twice.
I think I might have met her once,
but
I'm not
nonetheless,
sure.
I mean, just really kind soul. Was sponsored by Innova. She was also one of the first people to be sponsored, and she sported a lot of the Dude apparel. She worked closely with Chris Finn at the time, out of Washington, and just a really, really nice woman all around. And I remember seeing her, struggling with some of this battle and then playing with her opposite hand, doing whatever she could to continue to be involved in the sport. And I was not close with her on, say, a daily basis, but I do feel like it was from her post and the updates she'd been providing in the last few weeks. This felt still sudden, and maybe it was or not, but nonetheless, very, very heartbreaking. So young, and I think she had 2 degrees and a master's degree, and was very well-rounded, and just a joy to be around. Obviously, lots of other, specifically FPO golfers, had many years of playing with her, and you see a ton of posts being made. Innova put out a very nice post, and sucks for everyone when anyone passes. Melody certainly will be a missed woman and soul out there for sure. So sorry to hear that. We move into I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through so many great pictures of her, and so much love and an outpouring of love for her, as mentioned. 8/24, so Saturday it was. I don't know that we have too many more updates. If you want to bicker or fight or complain about trophies, go for it. I saw, obviously, there's never going to be a time we're gonna get, and it shouldn't, where we're gonna get a universally loved trophy by everyone, and I'm okay with that. Like, they're subjective. Art, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like every other cliche you want to throw out, there's some historical reference to it. Is it your favorite trophy? Maybe, maybe not. Great. I like them.
I like it. It's funny. Our friend Steve Held was messaging me last night as he was watching post-production, and he was like, that trophy, he didn't like it. He's like, I don't love it. He actually, and this was straight from him, he said something along those lines. He was like, I'd like to see just like maybe a universal
cup,
no, like just a Worlds trophy, like something that just you use at Worlds every year. Very like just. Because he's like the NFL has like the Lombardi Trophy and this and that, and he rattled off a bunch of them, and he was like, well, maybe they just do like a universal Worlds Trophy. He even said, he's like, there's like this trophy would be awesome for like the Pro Tour Championship or the an Elite Series event. He's like, but I think I'd like to see like just the same trophy for Worlds. And he's like, maybe even the same, because USDGC, he's like, USDGC has done the same kind of trophy.
They're similar.
Yeah, they're not identical, clearly. I mean,
they weren't standard for 10 or 12 years, and then they've become kind of a theme. Mace Man for the last few years.
Well, they used to have the
glass. That glass was kind of the non-traveling.
The non-traveling, and that's maybe what he was talking about, like having a non-traveling and a non-traveling and a traveling trophy. I don't care either way, honestly. I'm with you. I think the trophy's cool. Is it Is it worlds worthy? That's in the eye of the beholder. I don't really care. Guess what? I don't think Isaac probably cares. I bet you he's like, cool, I won worlds. But
Evelina's drinking out of hers right now in Finland.
She probably is just partying hard.
I mean, again, you say what you want. I don't care. I am fine with it. We're just because for every person that says, like you're just saying of our friend and plenty of others out there about these quote unquote standards, you could find something mundane or boring or basic about all of those as well.
Yeah, I've
why
said,
is it a green jacket, not a blue jacket? Blah. I don't know why. The point is, why isn't it this other jacket, or why is it that, or why is it this? Somebody this weekend was arguing with me about how he had a Lombardi trophy tattooed on him from Super Bowl whatever that wasn't 1 or 2, and it was the year the Eagles won. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. You got our Green Bay Packer trophy on there. And he wanted to get defensive. And of course I chuckled at that.
Yeah,
knowing it's after Vince Lombardi, our Packers here in Wisconsin. Like, so for every you name me any piece of effing hardware on the planet, and I will find some way to shit on it if you want me to. And just like you guys can all continue to do. Yeah. And it's just like, if you want to look for the negative, you can. But no matter what you come up with, somebody else can still find a reason to dislike it.
I think we talked about trophies last week. So
okay, well then, let's shelve it. We could shelve it for at least 6 to 8 weeks minimum. That's right. Because quite frankly, it's hypocritical that I say I don't care. I get it. But I say I don't care, and then I get all riled up because I'm so sick of the damn conversation.
Yeah.
On every Facebook group.
I'm with you. I don't care
that they get posted.
And no one's going to complain about the OCGC trophy because it's the Mace Man Cups or the Bowls or whatever the Vegas of Oz is. I don't know what they're considered. And then I think they've got also the plate. Glass plate. I think they still do. And then
Tom says maybe we should start handing out the Waffle House gift certificates instead.
That's a good idea.
I haven't to sidetrack. I just don't have. Well, first of all, they're not near us in Wisconsin, but I have not visited a Waffle House. I love them; they're great. I don't think I've been to one in 10 years minimum.
We went to one last year with the family. So
it's been probably at least 10 years since I've been to one. And after a few conversations and a couple beverages at Worlds as we were closing up, everybody was hungry. Everybody that was hanging around at the time, it was Zach Melton, Emerson Keith, Kelvin Heimberg, and myself.
That's a crew at
great
Waffle
conversation.
House.
Let me just say that. Unbelievable conversation. And finally, I was like, hey, I still had a 2-hour drive eventually. And so Waffle House was down the road. It was open. It was Sunday night. We go down there, and who's sitting there in the booth? Eliezer Midling, Braden Sides, and Luke Taylor. So the guy that just finished 5th, the guy that just finished 4th or whatever, are sitting there. And I sit and have a great conversation with that crew. It was just kind of funny. I mean, to be fair, a lot of us just don't know Luke Taylor still that well. Unless you're somewhat regional or had the chance to somehow play with him, you probably still don't know him that well. Mm-hmm. And so it was great to have a conversation with those guys. And then I'll second guess a few of Emerson's comments, but those aren't for sharing.
Well, yeah.
Good time, needless to say. So yes, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Waffle House.
So you're saying
the visit was great.
If you win, you go out for steaks. If you lose, you go to Waffle House.
Yeah, I mean, Evelina, we saw her social media post today.
She was at like a Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, she was at a Texas Roadhouse. She had steak along with Robinson somewhere else had steak, and everybody else goes to Waffle House.
Everyone else gets waffles. That's right. It's a different level. It's a different level of steak.
I was just gonna say I don't think the steak and cheese brisket or whatever that was had at our table hit quite the same.
Probably didn't quite fill the same hole in their hearts that Isaac's did.
Not quite, but Kelvin graciously did.
That's nice.
Cover ours. Jim says, Terry, y'all heading to Tim Selinsky? I wish, and That's not because I wish I wasn't covering Green Mountain. Unfortunately, though, this year, those two events are on the same weekend. Since January, I've been contracted for Green Mountain, and I'm super happy to be covering Green Mountain Challenge, but those are on the exact same weekend, which means I will be in Bend on the mic, and I will not be part of Tim Selinsky this year. So not the case. Gordon says, I'm going to sell unused merch. I live 2 miles from one and haven't eaten there in 30 years, Tim says. Tim, I don't know if I can trust your judgment, because don't you tell me you go to Skyline Chili once in a while? Because if you told me that, I gotta discredit you there.
I equate Skyline Chili in my head to White Castle. Like, I put them on the same level.
You've never had it, right?
I've never had Skyline.
No.
I've had White Castle once in my life.
That's not a terrible analogy.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Somebody more regional to the Ohio area would maybe argue otherwise, but I could get on board with that analogy.
There is something, I don't know why, there is something about a place that just sells chili that is unappetizing to me.
But Noodles and Company's okay?
Noodles and Company seems fine. And I've had chili at places where, like, you go, for us, a local would be like a diner, like Mary's in Appleton.
Yeah.
I've had chili there, no problem. But for some reason, and maybe again, it's some local bias, because there was a few chili places here in Milwaukee that were like kind of downtown by Marquette. Do you remember the name of it?
Real Chili.
Real Chili. That's
cleverly named.
Yeah, cleverly named Real Chili. I just never, something about those places just unappetizing. Like, I don't understand, and maybe that's why it's stuck in my head, that just any place that is named after or sells just chili, I don't want anything to do with it for some reason. It's
but Real Chili was good. Were you just saying otherwise?
I
tuned you out.
I don't know if I've ever had Real Chili.
It was really good. Me and Dave Wastebloom went down there a few times.
It just, every time I walked past it, it just looked dirty. It looked like
it was Real Chili,
unappetizing. And I love chili. I mean, I do.
It was in a drunken district for a reason.
Correct. Yeah, you go there after the bars. It usually was open a little later than the bars, and you go there, and it soaks up whatever you've been drinking. I understand the concept. It was like Oakland Euros for a lot of people, you know? I just, there's something about Skyline and Real Chili. All of them just, they're unappetizing to me. And I love chili. So
okay, I kind of want to stop at Real Chili on my way down to Chicago. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. Maybe you get maybe via Instagram or Facebook, you're going to get a 4 a.m. live stream from me.
Find some place in Chicago that sells chili and go there.
Or the casino. It doesn't have chili, but I could go there anyway. I have an early flight to Mexico. It's from there. It's direct. Hence me flying out of O'Hare. And for me to go home right now, and then to have to get up and still get down to the flight, I'd go home and sleep for like 2 hours or 3 hours. So instead, I'm leaving Johnny's house here very shortly.
I hope so.
And I may or may not pit stop in downtown Milwaukee, but then I will venture the other hour and a half or so down to O'Hare, and I'll see what time the United Club lets me in there, maybe early. But that's the game plan. So it's going to be maybe close to an all-nighter is kind of my logic tonight. We'll see if that turns out to be a smart move. So there may or may not be some other updates and shenanigans once I figure out where I'm going.
Well, keep track of that on Terry's Instagram. Otherwise, you can go to patreon.com/SmashboxTV, and we are about to give away this wonderful Frisbee that has the 2 world champions signatures on it. Isaac Robinson, 2X. Evelina Salonen, 1X.
What?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's what we're about to do right now.
Jawbreaker, something or other, 33 other adjective, something or other scorches.
Yeah, it's a 170 to 172 if you're thinking about throwing it. That's just what it is. So we have pulled all the names, and we have 122 people eligible for our giveaway tonight. Terry Miller. How many numbers am I going to generate tonight?
I think 3. You got the 1X for Evelina, the 2X for Isaac. You got to generate the 3rd.
All right.
The 3rd number will receive this. A ton of you should have received your Patreon disc. I'm sure. So happy to be able to say that. A few of you haven't, but a good majority of you have. Somebody sent me also last week. I wish I would have posted it. Somebody who had won recently sent me a picture of the insane Ledgestone package. We need to back off on the giveaways. David sent me this and said the Smashies Ledgestone prize pack arrived when I was in Lynchburg. A very nice Macbeth Z Glow collector set containing a Luna, a Kratos, an Athena, an Onyx, a Zeus, a Hades, and a Malta.
Are you kidding me?
That's what we gave away. Ledgestone gave away via our Patreon. So 7 discs that pack was.
Amazing.
Number 63 out of 250. So thank you again to Ledgestone. Yeah. We just give your stuff away. You actually, we promise of giving it away. You actually send it out in that case. So sometimes it pays to be a Smashy. And he says, thank you to Ledgestone, you and Ledgestone for the wonderful prize. Best regards, Dave. So Dave, we thank you for being a Patreon supporter. Now tonight's winner only gets 1 disc, but it's also pretty damn special.
All right, I'm about to generate 3 numbers here. I have ordered them by email address tonight. They're sorted by email address. So we're doing generate. The first number is 98. The second number is 88. Is it going to be 78 or not? Probably not.
68.
The third number is 30. 30 is the number. Let me look at who 30 is as I scroll down. Darren Eck. Darren Eck. His email address starts with a D. Darren Eck. Congratulations, Darren.
Right below Dave Steger, who just won last week.
Yeah. And right above David Garb. So, but yeah, Darren Eck, congratulations. Terry will reach out to you. I'll send your information. I'll send your email address to Terry, and he will reach out to you to get your address so that you can get this wonderful, one of the first, if not the first, disc signed by both.
Co-signed by our world champs. It's going to actually sit right here because I'm going to the airport and returning a car, so I'm not going to bother taking it.
I can even grab one of the bags if we want to put it on there right away.
It will go out next week, but nonetheless, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Darren. Thank you for your support of being a producer at the producer level. Wow.
Awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah, totally rigged, Ed. I don't know why or who or
Ed, you were number 38.
You, though.
Ed, you were number 38. You were close because your email starts with E. So,
dude, don't dox them entirely.
Well,
but yes, thanks. Man, so many great people on that list. Awesome, love him. Well, we thank you and appreciate it. I think that's all we've got for tonight. I'm a little warm, and I've got a little trip ahead of me. Maybe.
Terry?
I'm just trying to, maybe I can think about collecting some special numbers to go play some bets on in on behalf of our world champions before I head out of town. Well, whatever. There's
okay.
We'll make something work.
You go do whatever you want, buddy.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. It was a heck of a Worlds Week. Again, hats off.
Great competitions in both divisions.
Yeah, hats off to the crew that made it all happen in every capacity, including meeting the owners of Ivy Hill. What an incredible venue, and the competition, the weather cooperated, and our world champs. Awesome to see the update on the PDGA site already. Was exciting to see. They're in color
images
this
are
year.
In color. They're not just like a faded.
Big shout out to Kevin Hoover, who I know has done those photos for a couple years now, or at least this year's and probably last year's. Love it. And let's think about ways we can be excited about things, and someone's success doesn't mean someone else's failure necessarily. So
actually, it does.
You can celebrate multiple successes in some way or another, though.
Correct. You don't have to celebrate failures. You don't have to point them out. You can just celebrate successes.
Good way to look at it. For John Evie, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That is Smashbox TV Podcast 521. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. We appreciate all of you who download, the thousands of you that download every single week as well and listen to it in some audio format. Thank you for doing so. Heck of a week. Congrats again, Evelina Salonen, along with Isaac Robinson. We'll see you next week. You step inside the Smashbox.